Good Wednesday evening. Welcome to another broadcast of the American Ricci Mahjong League. Nathaniel, joined by Korak, Arthur, for tonight's C1 matchup to start the evening off. A little bit of an early start tonight, but this one is one that we could not miss. Brian and Ty both hailing from the same area of the Midwest. Eric as well, always entertaining to watch. And Andrew leading this group of players up in 6th place, 147.2 to the good, and aiming for that guaranteed promotion spot. Has been playing extremely well this season, and we'll see if he can carry that on in this game as well. Looking around the table, Brian will be our first leader. Eric will be playing on the right, Ty across the table, and Andrew on our left.
All right, looks like we have a Pinfu, maybe a Honetsu shift here right in front of us for Brian. Ooh, two pins, a really awkward draw. I think you should go Haku here. Yeah, there it is. On the right, looks like a pretty standard Pinfu hand. Need to go to some of his honors. Maybe some sort of 4-5-6 Sanshiku if there's some shifting. Across the way. Again, pretty standard hand. Nothing fancy here. Pinfu Tanyao. On the left, though, we have a Chun Onko. Might even be Honetsu. Definitely the best hand of the bunch by a long shot.
Big question about where the door reside. One to the right in Eric's hand, but really hard for anyone to use one of those north winds. And actually, Andrew's discarded one already as the very first discard on the left.
Yes, as the North player, that's almost always a situation of, wait, that was the Dora, oops.
Still, as it stands, has really, really nice shapes and can quickly approach a Tenpai here. Especially after that 5-mon draw.
Ooh, 5-mon, okay. Well, the Honetsu's probably gone at this point, but very whitey Shunten here.
Brian.
And the 2-mon Onko isn't a great draw here, but maybe you can move this down towards Tanya, get the 1-2 pin later. 6-8 Spanshu also looking like a good option. The 9-mon across the way now is Shunten for Ricci Pinfu. Ooh, I actually do like the one. I definitely got the 1-2. Instead, throws the one back. Of course, a bunch of ones already out, so it's large use of 3. And there is our Tenpai across the way, just on the 7, so we see 3 of them light up immediately. There's only one in the wall.
And not the best weight, not the best value, but it is the first Ricci, and that always applies pressure to the rest of the table. Brian can start with a 1-pin cut here and still maintain an Ishanten with potential Sanshoku value. Maybe he'll be able to fight. You see the chase, though, from Andrew.
We see that draws the deal in Thailand, throws it. Ricci Patu Chun.
Yeah, check from Mongon does miss, only 5,200 points. Brian clearly not liking the one so, but said, I'm dealer with potential Ricci Tanyao Sanchoku. I'm going to take the fight.
And Andrew, the big winner to begin with. Now I have Eric. Eric's been in Armel for quite a while. Has a nice little double East pair here. 2-mon, nice upgrade. Possible 1, 2, 3 Spanshoku now. Was thinking Chant or even Honetsu with those early discards. Passes the 1 pin, so probably just going for the double East. On the right, Pinfu Tanya, maybe Nipeko and Lormanzu. Across the way, Hatsu pair. A few other pairs, might even be Chitoi depending on what happens. And on the left, pretty standard Pinfu. 4-pin would really help that hand.
A lot of thought there on that discard for Brian. Ended up cutting the North Wind out, but maybe thinking about extensions upon the 4-mon draw.
5 pin isn't going to really help. It's a decent floater, so we'll hold it. And of course, we get the 6, the 5, 6, 7, 8 in much better shape. Ooh, 3-mon pair up there on the left now is Shunten.
Reward?
Really like the 5. That's the very greedy play for the Ipeko in Sozu. Also potential 5, 6, 7 Sanshku. We see the Hatsu Pon across the way now. Perfect Shunten there as well.
Immediately followed by the
There's
4-pin.
Already Tenpai waiting on 6, 9 pin. Oh, well, now you see all this and you just start dreaming Doko.
1 pin, 1 so, 1 mon, but all paired up in hand.
No, not going to matter. That 9's going to come out and deal in for the 1,000 move this game around. And Ty is dealer, has the double East. Another double East. But we didn't see the last one cashed in, but this one is pulled immediately. On the right, No, maybe an Itsu and Monzu looking pretty good across the. Ooh, that's a fun hand in Sozu. Actually, pretty good shapes overall. Two Dora as well. Tanya Dora too. It's one of those. If there weren't Dora, I might even dream of like Suanko. But there, I just want anything to cash this in. On the left, great starting hand there as well. Possible 5/6/7 Sanshoku. Haku pair up's kind of a bad draw here. You really wanted the Tanya shape. We'll go ahead and hold it. The Haku could even turn this into Honetsu. I'd definitely call this. We'll see if the 7 pin comes out. Cuts the 5/6, so going for the Ishan 10 with possible Honetsu shift later.
Yeah, really interesting sequence of plays there. Cutting away from the 8 pin first, reducing the tile acceptance, but hedging the Dora and the Sanchoku, and then calling the Haku and cutting away from the Yamen shape. So really trying to force at least the Dora into the hand, but maybe the Honitsu as well. Now he's drawn the 4 pin upgrade, so a little easier to use the Dora, and we'll just call into
Actually,
Tenpai.
yeah, just call it easy. Play, waiting on the 2/8 for Haku Dora 1, and the discards definitely scream Monzu Pond.
So many central tiles cut in the pins here. Definitely feels like a Monway. Wow, 5 pin, no hesitation cut, and that's going to get Brian the Dora triplet. However,
Doesn't matter, just gonna shut this down with the Sumo 2000.
that will send us along into East 4. This game has been a game of speed so far in these early goings.
All right, well, Andrew in first place in a great position here as dealer here has a Dora, possible 5/6/7 Sanshoku, especially with that draw. Ooh, his hand looking very, very juicy. On the right, Pinfu has a floating four to potentially accept the Tumon Dora, but not quite as fun as the dealer hand. Across the way, Hatsu pair can call and go. At the same time, you'd really like to turn this into Chant or some sort of value, but the shapes are just so awkward. On the left, whole bunch of Pinzu tiles, maybe an Itsu, but very much a wait and see is what you do with the dragons.
Still absolutely loving this dealer hand and hoping that we could fill a 6 pin first. You get a 6 pin, you get Rishi Pinfu, potential for Sanchoku on the 5 so Sumo. That'd be a monster dealer hand to win.
We're seeing the sevens don't really do much, but there's our first Ricci on the right. That is a Ricci Pinfu waiting on 2/5 so.
Turn
We might
6.
see one come out very quickly. Nope, gets away from it at least this turn.
Yeah, very curious to see how interested Eric is in fighting this hand. No Dora.
Ooh,
Awkward
four
shapes.
mon cut. I don't like that. I definitely go the Hatsu. If you're going to play this hand, you still have a route to Tempai here. Of course, we know it eventually DLN. If you get the 4 mon as your pair, you could have just gone Itsu.
Yeah, perhaps just a little respect to the Ricci here, and for good reason. I guess that Tusa would deal in.
Well, I think you go Hatsu first, but I mean, if I get Tempai, I'm shoving it to get first Orichi.
Now dealer with the question to fight or not, and we'll cut the 8 pin away.
Once
Sonogawa.
the Sanshoku, it's full buy-in for Sanshoku.
So it seems 3 pin is safe, and I think he'll jam the 3 mon if Tempai is found, even if it's not the Sanchoku side.
Oh, well, now we have an Ishunten on the left. Can maybe be able to get back in without dealing in.
Dealer drew the 4 mon that ends
Oh,
up...
Tempai waiting on the 2/5, the same 2/5. Itsunomi.
And dealer gets back to Tempai, redrawing the 50-10 Dora. 5/8 so for Pinfu Dora 1. Surprisingly not see a Ricci here.
Well, trying to shift this down, the problem is it doesn't work.
Look
Well,
at
this is
Salmon
three-sided. This
Chan.
should definitely be a Ricci. There's no reason to Dama here with three-sided. This is one where C's first place, maybe doing a little too much ladder practice, where you're just thinking, hey, it's East 4, especially in the East game. You're like, it's fine, but no, you should definitely be reaching this in the league.
Incredible that 3 players were temporarily all Tempai on
Oh,
the 2/5
there's the
so.
2! Gets away from it, folded out, would have won the hand. And there's the Sumo, that's by Yurichi. The sad 13 all as opposed to a potential Mongon or even Hanemon.
And Andrew still retaining the dealership, still retaining the lead. Could have been enough to knock Eric below 30k, which would have been pretty significant if you could keep it that way all the way to the end.
Well, the thing is, for Andrew, the goal isn't necessarily just stay here. The promotion positions are likely to go up later, but you'd love to get to that 200 for the double promotion. Then you don't have to worry about any of this stuff.
That's an
But in the
excellent point.
meantime, has a Pinfu type hand, maybe Peiko, a floating one Sodora. On the right, we have an East pair, maybe a call and go, maybe a 345 Sanchiku. Across the way, we see the Hatsu Pon. Looks like Honetsu, but what do you do about that Dora? And then the same question. Ooh, might see a Khan. Gonna hold it for now. On the left, Tuso, a great fill there. Possible 123 Sanshoku. Has the Dora in pretty good shapes altogether.
Khan.
It may end up just being Riichi Dora. There's our Khan. We knew it was going to happen eventually. 4-pin pairs up, but kind of awkward shapes everywhere. Going to dream of the Daisung and cutting the Tuso here.
Yeah, knowing Eric, that con was always going to happen at some point, and even going for the Daisangan Dream is not out of character.
Ooh, one mon pulls in. Now there is actually a viable Sanshku if you got the 6-4, but doesn't want to throw the 4, so we'll just end up cutting the 1-2.
Yeah, still a decent Ishanten with the Dora.
4-pin, maybe just be a pawn. Yeah, there it is. Now the question is how greedy you want to be with the door. It looks like very greedy. This looks like, oh no,
Oh.
door donkey. On the left, though, that would have been the Ricci possible Sanjigu Dora.
Now reconsidering, and it actually holds the 3-pin this time, despite the lag on the 2-pin.
It's kind of hard to use. You're just asking for Furry 10 in that position. Ishunten on the right. What do you cut here?
One of these
Goes to the
Gammon
6.
keeping...
Oh, and punished immediately. That should have been Tempai. Meanwhile, dealer, super wide Ishunten.
Andrew hasn't had to make too many decisions here. 1-3-pin does come on the left, holding a con, holding all 4 of the 1-mon. We might see those later.
And Tai has the potential con. I imagine this would be the time to do it. Especially with the 2s, there's no reason to hold it. Oh, that's a big hand for the dealer. Riichi, Pinfu, Tanyao, Ipeiko potentially. And we know the 8s are dead. There is 1-5 left.
Oof.
Oh!
Okay.
Dodges it, throws the safe Dora. Remember, Tai did some really nice maneuvering in the last hand not to deal in, but then ended up folding out. Would have won the hand if he'd have pushed. Uh-oh, this may just be a deal in. Or a con into deal in, it's even worse.
Oh, Ricci on the 3D10
5-pin. He hit the wrong button. I feel that he wanted to con and probably hit the wrong one.
In the meantime, Eric is stepped by across the table, doesn't want to deal in on the 8, so cuts the Dora instead of Dora Tonki. There are no 5 pins left in the wall, so Tai cannot win. There are no 8 pins in the wall, so Andrew cannot win unless one of them comes out by dealing. So Eric with really the only chance here.
Yeah, everything here looks pretty locked in. It's just where's the 6-mon? 1 left.
3 and 6 both look bad. 6-pin passes. Will he fold? 3 and 6 both look really bad, but he still pushes. And there's the 6!
Rewarded immediately! 3,600. The Hatsunomi with the con and the Ricci 6. A decent hand there.
Selected the correct Tonki indeed. Eric collecting the sticks.
All right, Brian's dealer here. Whole bunch of pairs in this hand. Maybe Nipeko, maybe even Rionpeg if you draw a 2 or 3 pin. On the right, maybe 1, 2, 3 Sanshoku. You also have an East pair, but we're no longer in East round, so it's not nearly as useful. You see the 1-so cut to lock in the 2-so door acceptance. Across the way, couple Onko. Lots of ways that hand can go. Tanya probably being my preference there. And on the left, we see the Pei pawn can also pawn Hatsu and just looks like an easy Honetsu hand. I feel it's probably the strongest. The question is, can dealer shut this down?
Dealer has a good shot. If I opened up this hype, I'd be very happy. Tusodora complicates things just a little bit. Really want to connect
it definitely
to it.
pushes you more towards the Chitoitsu. I would definitely go the 4-mon. I do not like the 1 for that reason.
Yeah, 1-pin really screams, I want a Pinfu somehow. Maybe 7 so draw. And then see what happens.
I have no problem with going for Pinfu. The problem is you shut off all your other options. And now you almost want to cut Dora with that draw.
In the meantime, Andrew on the left approaches Tempai for Honitsu. Double Yakuhai, that would be a Mangon, 8,000 points.
Can't really call the 7 here. If there were 2, 3, 4, then maybe. But, ooh. Well, the normal cut here is 4-pin. You can also go 1-3. We'll go with the 1-3.
Interesting and exciting things happening across the table. Can we draw a triplet? Or another
We have a
pair?
Dama on the right, waiting on one of those Tuso Dora. But the problem is you can't win with this hand. You have to sumo it yourself. And at that point, you might as well just Ricci.
We'll see if it's a wait one
Looking for
turn.
some sort of upgrade. I feel... Okay, yeah, it's the one turn wait thing. Never a fan. Oh, this may just be a chase. No, could have chased with the possible Sananko Dora too. Doesn't take it.
Yeah, was Dama Tempai on the 3-mon for Ipeko Dora too, and ends up just reworking this hand with a 1-mon pair cut. As you said, could have dropped the 4-so there and aimed for the Sananko with the Shabo 2-so 1-mon wait. The 1-mon was completely dead, so that probably factored into that decision.
See, the 8 and the hand that looks so promising is just basically giving up at this point.
Andrew says, I don't need to take this fight. I'm already in the lead. And I'm
Ooh,
leading the
that's a
standings.
draw. We'll cut the 6 rather than the 7. I strongly prefer the 7 there. Especially the Sumigari Ricci. I definitely do not respect Sumigari Ricci's.
This is a Tempai again. Tai looks like he just does not want to fight. He does not want to take any of these battles. Played very defensively in the previous Ricci as well, so it's probably his playstyle
Well, there's
here.
Tempai. Dealer going to slam this.
8-so cut
8
makes
so is
sense.
the normal cut here. Is taking a while on this one. Nope, just took the obvious one as opposed to the better one. That's when you have to read the shapes and think about it for a while.
Yeah, probably
There
just
was a 147.
consider that maybe the 6-so is slightly safer, but I think that the 8-so is actually just fine because of the number of 7-so that were visible, so we'll see if this comes back to bite or if it ends up being the winning move. Ties.
9-pin pair up, so we've backed into oh, well, that's a Tempai on the left now. And with the 8s out, I think you just throw the 9 and take the Tempai waiting on Dora. Or the 3. Oh no, throws the 5. Just hard folding.
Called back into Tempa here, cutting the south, and
I
will do
definitely
so.
called
Back
that.
on the
Yeah, there is
3-so.
no Yaku across the way.
It's so funny that we're back where we started. This Tempai happened. It was actually the first Tempai of the hand, outside of the
Andrew,
2-so on the
by
right.
kind of chickening out there, ends up paying out 1,000 all.
Yeah, the dealership will stay here with Brian.
Brian, great starting in here. Each Pinfu Tanyao, a floating Dora, great shapes. On the right, another great hand. Reach Pinfu Ipeko. I'm trying to see if you can get anything else. You have the Dora connectors, or maybe a Dora in there as well. Across the way. Ooh, that's an awkward hand. I kind of want to play Junchun with it, but I think you just play normally and see what happens. And on the left, well, that's the worst hand. That's
It's
one where you look at it and start counting your uniques, and you don't get to 9, so you say, that's not it. Maybe you just go Honetsu with it.
yeah, you're starting with 4-so 5, so that's the Dora adjacent tile. So definitely thinking about the Kokushi and committing. Drew back-to-back honor tiles and said, you know what, that's good enough.
Yeah, the 6-pin is a pretty hard commit here. You don't really want to pair up when that situation happens. I definitely prefer the Honetsu. But it is the Honetsu and the non-Dora suit, which doesn't ever feel good. But at the same time, there are 2 sticks in the middle. You don't need a ton of value, because the pot is your value.
Now
And now with
Dora.
this 3, you just don't really want to throw Dora, but just imagine what would have happened if you had a regular hand out of this. Just played efficiency and cut the north, the south, and the Hatsu, maybe the 9, so
Oh,
this would be a pretty strong hand, actually.
Brian Tempai declines the Yaman wait
Wants the Dora.
and
And
gets the Dora.
rewarded immediately for it. You have to slam this.
Also
You
wants
really like the
Sanshoku, but
Pinfu, but at the same time...
yeah.
Yeah, there it goes. Ricci, Dora 1-4. So, and the Ipatsu, Ricci, Ipatsu, Dora.
Eric just got to a great Ishunten, but not fast enough. The Potts is going to make his 3 and 40 for 77 and all those sticks, and Brian's back over 30K.
Yeah, in pretty good position here. Has the 6 lone honor tiles, which doesn't help. But the rest of the hand's okay, especially if you can turn this into a Pinzu. That's one where I definitely like the 9-mon cut, and we'll kind of hedge Honitsu for a few turns, but instead just cuts the pay. On the right, we have a South pair that is the double South, also a Dora, so that's just a call and go hand. Across the way, ooh, a whole bunch of Sozu Taz. I'm looking for any excuse to turn that into Sozu Honitsu, but it may be a little slow. And on the left, very fast hand. 6-mon would really help.
In terms of speed, definitely the left and the right have the advantage. So Brian, as the dealer, is going to have a lot to work through, especially as that double South comes out. And Eric's already cut so many expensive tiles, the 5-so, the 6-mon, the 2-so now after the 5-so. Definitely feeling like they've got speed behind that call.
3-pin Dora drawn on the left, now getting really close.
6-mon would be a massive Ishan on the left. This is
9-so
also
is
pretty
not a
good.
bad one. You just cut the 5-7 anyway. That's going to be the play. 4-mon, a nice fill here for dealer, but a little bit behind, especially compared to the hand on the right. Gets a second Dora as well. Needs the 2-pin and 4-7-pin.
Tie across the table feels like he's behind his hand, needs to call to make something happen. It opens up with the
He
3,
is
4, 5.
definitely behind in the hand, so reads that correctly. Oh, the perfect draw. Double South, Dora 2, 4-7-pin.
Is that the end of the
Senpai for
greed?
Mongon.
He's already discarded a pair of 1-mon. Will the 8-mon follow?
Oh, that's a great draw there on the left for Andrew. Now Ishan 10 for potential reach pin food. Tanya Dora. Chun pair up for dealer. Oh, well, we'll see if he's that greedy, but I think Mongon's good enough, and we'll go ahead and keep it.
Very, very understandable to not go all the way
You
to
see the
the
Chun
Honitsu.
called. So the normal cut here is 8-pin. You can go 7-so as well. Does go with the 8. This lets you potentially wait Dorotanki or also connect to the 7-so later. Ooh, that's an interesting. I do not like the 2-mon cut. That's a great pair. You have a Kutsuki if you cut the 1-mon, or you can just cut the 7 for wider acceptance.
And Eric on the right feels a little bit of regret as he draws into the 2-pin that would have been Tempai for Honitsu as well.
Yeah, the Hanemon chance. Well, the 6 at least gives you a 6, 7, 8, 9 shape. This should definitely be the 7. No, ships down out of it. Of course, there are 2 9s out, so you're only adding 1 tile, but it's a pretty good one and has safety later.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a great fill on the left. Tempai, Richi, Pinfu, Tanya, potentially Dora 1.
Oh.
There's the 4 pair up. The 5 is safe, should just be the 5.
But I feel like Brian's been reading this hand as Dorotanki this entire time.
And deals in on the expensive end on Ipatsu. Riichi, Ipatsu, Kinfu, Tanyao, Dora, Iniora is Hanemon. Misses it though, and Andrew will pick up 9,600, including his Riichi stick back.
Yeah, 1-mon probably a better played if you're planning to cut retain the sort of 3-6-mon acceptance, but it did very much seem like the play was angling towards the Dorotanki, in which case he really wanted to chi 3-6-mon and cut the 7-so. That backfired, unfortunately, for Brian.
Yeah, definitely a bunch of backfires in that hand. Here we have Eric with a nice little Pinfu type hand, but a couple of Kanchan need to get filled on the right. Ew. That's one where it looks good until you realize 2 of those blocks are Penchon. With the 1, 2, 8, 9, I'll just go ew and move on. Across the way, Chun Anko, Haku pair, Dreams of Daisangen, but the Hatsu is already dead now. 2 of them out. Maybe a Shosangen if you draw one. Regardless, possible Honitsu in 2 different suits. We're going to see the Pon there. And I think you just have to take the Ishunt. And you're not thrilled with it, but I guess you just have to take it. On the left, Pinfu Han, nothing fancy there except for the 2 Dora. So you're looking for any excuse to cut the 9-9 and potentially go Tanya with it.
Ooh, maybe now?
No, you definitely go 7-so now. If you get the Riichi Pinfu Dora, that's good enough.
Yeah, that's fair, especially being in
But what
last
you'd
place.
really like to do is draw another Dora, and then you cut your 9-9.
I like 9-so into Sanshoku.
You can get it. The problem is the 9s are all pretty dead. We see 3 of them out. Actually, all 4 of them out, including the Furry 10, so it's useless.
Oh, Brian does end up changing his mind. Eric now with a really strong Ishanten in the dealer seat. Just Tanyo only, but anything to prevent Andrew or Brian's hand from completing. There's a shift
6, a
down.
great fill there. Oh, and there's Tempai for dealer. 3-sided, 258 for just Tanyao. And I think it comes out, well, maybe not this turn, but you may have to cut the Dora later. That's the problem.
Boom.
Okay, it does come out. Doesn't ever want to throw the Dora. We'll deal in 1,500. Nothing fancy here, but we have another South 2.
Boom.
Maybe a 6-7-8 Sanji. We're going to require some shifting, but overall a decent hand here for dealer. On the right, Haku pair, Pei pair. You just want to turn into Honitsu and Pinzu, but it's a long way off from it. Across the way, Shapon, maybe a couple other pawns later, possibly Toy Toy even, Toy Toy or Honitsu, depending on what happens. Needs the 5-so, and then I think you just go for it. 5 Mon definitely cheapens this hand significantly. It just throws the 9 immediately. That's just kind of sad. I think I prefer cutting the 5-so. You do lose a potential Sanchiku shift, but at the same time, the hand's so cheap. And now you get a door and you're not even happy with it.
Yeah, we'll just hold on to it in case the 3 pin is drawn, but very likely to just be
Well, that's
discarded.
going to be a pawn. Does go ahead and cut the Dora. Not called on the left. I think I'd have called that one. The hand does feel really slow. The problem is 20,900, fourth place. You don't really want to win a 2,000 point hand, but you have to know you're behind when there's 2 calls on board.
Yeah, and when the door is coming out on top of that.
Well, that fills in nicely on the right. The 7 doesn't do anything immediately. 4-so's a miss. The 7 connects loosely to the 5. Can cut the 3-6-so probably. There it goes.
Yeah, Brian's looking for
Goes
the
back.
Ricci.
Another pair here.
Hmm.
Not really what you're looking for. Eric might have to end up backing into a Cheetoy.
Yeah, of course, this is Ishanten. Can't just slam a Ricci, but
Maybe an 8-pin would get me very tempted that way. Oh, there's a 3. Is it going to come out? It is a Dora shape, so you're scared if you deal in. Throws the 7 instead. Oh, and I was talking about things that made fortune to Cheetoy and says, no, I will not do
rejects.
this. Throws the 8 immediately. And now just Tempai.
Eat.
This is a great weight with that pond. Oh my. The problem is the 3 9s are out, so there's only one of those, but all 3 6s are still left.
And with these cuts,
And the
like,
4 is a terrible Ipatsu draw. You
oof.
can't even fight this.
Yeah, 8-so first cut, 3 4-so cut after that, followed by an 8-so diamond cut. Like, there's no way it's waiting 6-9 here. Except there is a way. There is
Well, the way would be Cheetoy,
a
but
very
you figure
specific way.
the 9 shows a dead
Sumo.
weight. Oh, but just Sumo it yourself. Richi Sumo. No aura, but a nice little pickup there. Back over 30,000. Second place here and a decent starting in here with the 2-4-8-9 in Monzu really needed to fill. Ooh, the 4. That feels like a timeout, but it wasn't long enough to have been a timeout. I definitely would cut the Haku there. On the right, few pairs, 5, 6, 7 Sanjuku potentially across the way. Pretty standard Pinfu hand. And on the left, that's definitely a Toy Toy. You get Honroto from it. Actually looking pretty good for it.
Yeah, started with 4 Hondoto pairs, and it's called 2 of them already.
Yeah, that is Honroto. There's no anything else. The question is, can you add anything on top of it? Oh no, not the Chanta.
I almost want to throw it
Boo.
back. Or maybe the Tune
I
first
think I
because it's
would
twice
throw it
cut.
back.
Yeah, interesting.
6-0 turns into an Onko there. Interesting. Cuts the 8 instead of the 1. I definitely like the 1-so there. There's a route towards Itsu if we get a way to get rid of the 8-9 later in Monzu. If our shapes are great, then I don't mind the 8-so, but I just hate that Monzu shape.
The 3 does pair up, so it does look
Tempai
like...
on the left takes the Chanta instead of the Toy Toy. This is worth a lot less. This does let you call the 1 and wait on the 1 Tonki, though.
Yeah, this feels like it. This very much feels like a temporary Chanta, whereas
Yeah,
the
I
big
don't
plan
think...
is to pull.
The real question is, do you even take... Oh, well, it doesn't matter. It's an easy pull. You should never even think about passing this. This is
Pong.
100% Pawn.
Yeah, the value is so good here. Toy Toy Honroto with Yakuhai as a Mangan.
Yeah, the fifth Han doesn't add anything, but we just see one across the
Khan?
way, and I would not, but we might see it because this is C1. And there's the one! Figured it might come out like that, and there's the Hanroto. That's one for the Yakudex.
Indeed, and that brings Brian all the way back. Notably, that hits Andrew, who is in a significant lead. Now first place is up for grabs again.
All right. Well, Ty is dealer here with Haku pair, a Dora, but just ugly floaters everywhere. 258, not my favorite shape by any stretch. On the right, we have a Hatsu pair, maybe a Chanta route there as well, but you have that 6-8. Across the way, Pinfu, Dora, Tanya maybe. And on the left, two Dora and definitely Tanya. We see the Haku pulling by dealer.
It's going to be a race, especially with the door 2 on the left. Rick will definitely want to call this down, but dealer's already opened, so...
I would definitely have cheated that 3. And rewarded for not taking it, but is still going to need either a 3 or a 2 to get anything in that hand.
I think Brian is very much a typically a closed player, so I'm not too surprised to see it, but a lot of times that early chi of a Kanchan shape, that middle weight, it's typically hard to fill, so if you can get rid of the worst shape in your hand immediately, that feels really good, especially if it confirms a Dora. And at this
Well,
point,
we can look at the stats here, and the open player is usually tied. The closed player at this table is really Andrew. 7, so really would have preferred to held that 9, but there goes the Dora. That should have been okay. Passed on the left. This is one where I would have instantly called, but I'd be in a very different situation. When I see shapes like it, I just want any excuse to go Tadiao. 2 Dora. You figure the 2 isn't that easy to use.
Section call. We'll call this
6,
one.
okay, we'll go ahead and call now. And this you can't really call that 7 though. Oh, just Tempai for dealer. Waiting on 4 pin for Haku Nomi. See a couple light up, so 2 on the wall still. And of course, if the 2 hadn't been cut earlier, this could be a 1-4, which would be an amazing weight.
Andrew's still close here, aiming for that 789 Sanchoku.
Could have pulled and switched to a Tonki, which I think I would have. But this is the problem with having already cut the 2, so a different way this hand could have been played. Could have now pulled that and bet on that 2-so Tonki even.
Yeah, for that reason, I was actually thinking of cutting the 5-so instead of the 8-so for Tempai, because I was expecting the 8-so to come more easily, but I missed the fact that one of the 8-sos was already called in Brian's chi across the table, so maybe that's not necessarily the case.
9 pins a miss, 1's a miss. Ew. You just throw the Dora? Throws the 6. Basically a I'll decide later choice.
Exactly.
Now that 1-so gives any Peiko upgrade.
A couple of awkward shapes here for Eric. 7, 7, 8, 9 when you've cut the 5 pin already. And there's 1, 1, 2, 2, 3.
There's a 3. That's an easy call for Tempai. Tanyo Dora 1. And now dealer is on the 1-4. Eventually got there, but now 3 of the 1s are out. So it's not nearly as good. We have Richi Sanshoku on the right, waiting on 8 pin.
3 live in the wall. It's not visible. Kind of a scary cut here, and Ty's been really defensive up to this point.
There's the sumo, shuts this down. Tanya, Dora 1, and the stick will get over 30k. And we have a dogfight here at all last.
Yeah, pretty much anybody's game. Even last place player can jump into first with a Mangan Sumo.
Andrew here is dealer, a nice little Richi Pinfu Tanya type hand. On the right, whole bunch of So tiles, but more likely a Richi, maybe Peiko with a 6-0. Across the way, Pinfu hand needs a 2-so badly. The rest of the shapes aren't bad. And on the left, Ishunten already. Kutsuki Ishunten needs anything in Sozu. I think every tile in Sozu's Tempai.
Indeed, and I'm not convinced that he'll take just any Tempai, though. That is the draw I was looking for. No, no. The
The
two, three,
sound you hear
four.
is Daniel's heart
Cheer.
dying.
Oh dear, you just gave
Pump.
up your chance at a 100% win rate. Unfortunate.
The 2, 3, 4 Sanchoku, a Ben in there. I would definitely cut the 8 so there as well, even with the potential 5. But okay, and this is yuck. Oh, well, the problem is, hold on. So the problem is, this would be a Furi 10 Tenpai had he kept the 2, 3, 4 Sanshoku.
That is true. The 5 has come out. I wouldn't have taken that Tenpai though because that's not Sanchoku.
Yes.
Yeah, it's I'm quite certain that Tai hasn't like forgone the thought of Sanchoku. It's just 1, 2, 3 that he's aiming for. That way he gets to use the one pin door as well for that Mangon Sumo.
Now, dealer is Ishan 10. 3 so nice connection there on the right, but still Ishan 10 as well. 4 so the perfect tile. That's definitely a chi.
Just deciding
You
which
have to take it. If
Chi.
you've opened, like, you must take that.
Yeah, just deciding which tile to tanki on. 2 pin will be the choice.
Each.
And has to direct hit or get a Richi stick. And now we have our Tenpai on the left. Can switch to the 2 or the 5. Oh, that's so bad. Switches to the 5. And we do have Richi Pinfu on the left. And the 5 Pin Tonki.
Let's see.
Sumo would actually be first with the extra stick in the middle now.
Yeah, for Brian on the right, it would. For Tai, he needs to
For Tai,
Tsubo and
needs a
hit
little bit
Uda
of
too.
work. Oh, well, that 5, I imagine, does not come out.
6 Mon could be played though.
Yeah, that is the play. Oh, selected the incorrect donkey. Half through the 2. You know 2's safe anyway. You don't even care. This probably deals in, though.
Do you
There
dare
it
take it?
is.
Richi
You
Pinfu
have
in
to take
Uda?
it. This is one where he's considering that because it doesn't knock anyone under 30k, does pass.
Wow.
Wow.
There are not many 5 so or 2 so left. I mean, he could see 1,
That's
2,
a
3, 4,
Dora
5, 6.
pwn. This should be a pwn and cut 3 100% of the time.
You're just thinking about it, but I'm sure we'll see it.
You have to
Pump.
take this.
Yeah.
Nails with you. Wait, is that actually Tenpai? Oh, it is.
A huge hand now for dealer.
Dealer
Yakuhai
now has
Honitsu.
Hanemon 18,000.
And this is where you regret not calling the roll. Unless somebody else deals
No
in.
kidding. This is Tenpai across the way on a Tonki. Furry 10-3 so right now.
Will the faith in Sanzo be rewarded? Will it
Not
switch to
yet,
something
anyway.
else? 3 so is Suji to the dealer hand. At this point,
Now
you
waiting
almost...
on the 7.
Yeah,
There's only the one on the right. Could switch here to the 6-9, but I just throw it back. 5 does not deal in. Of course, we said the Furry 10 earlier. Oh, this is the 3-sided you can take.
Each.
Yeah, I'm gonna fight for first
And
with
we'll
the
do
Richie.
so.
Sumo.
But dealer gets the Hanemon.
And the
Not
Richie
only the
sticks.
big win, but knocks everyone else under 30k. This is Andrew's ticket to getting towards that 200 right now with a plus 43.4.
That was essentially a 25,000 point win. And we're not done yet. Andrew still got the dealership.
Has a decent hand here. A couple pairs. The 1-9 isn't great, but there's Chitoy, there's Ipeiko. There are a few ways to play this. On the right, we have a Chun pair. Maybe an Ipeiko with a 2-pin or a 5-pin draw. Across the way, there's our Chun call. Across the way, similarly, a bunch of pairs, but kind of awkward shapes. Anytime you have one odd-numbered tile in your hand, it tells you the state it's in. And on the left, not the ideal hand.
Yeah, that state is Chitoy. Although Eric does pull in one more odd tile, so that is progress, but there's another pair.
And any hopes you may have had for this hand are now dashed by the most cursed hand in Mahjong, Chitoitsu.
And now Andrew picking up another pair, although that's in a wing shape, so very efficiently drawing towards Pinfu.
Dora draw across the way says, I will not take a T-Toy. No. Huso pair up gives a potential Toy route here on the right.
Oh, big.
7's a great fill for dealer. Now Ish on 10. 7 can call this. I think I definitely take that, but
The pass there signals that Brian's angling toward the
Toy,
right?
100% Toy.
Home.
If he's passing that. And there's the first one.
Home.
And that's a Pulm for Tempai, waiting on 4-7.
Home.
There's the second one, waiting on 2-3. May get there yet.
Sumo for Brian would be enough to put him over 30K. Well,
Boom.
Road
The
instead.
2 deals in for the Toy. The Toy Chew, not enough to get to 30K. It does have the extra value and will be 29.6. But the big winner here, of course, that Haiman Sumo, Andrew, 43.4. In second place, Brian, minus 0.4. Gets the win there on the end, but not enough to overtake the 6,000 to get to the 30K line. Eric in third place with minus 11.4, and Ty just couldn't get together there, the minus 31.6. Close game all the way throughout until that South 4 explosion.
Yeah, and it was Andrew who got off to an early lead in that game, lost those points with a very fun Toy Honroto, and then the past run on the 5-so allowed him to win another monster hand, the 18,000 plus 2 Richie Sticks, plus becoming the only player above 30K for an extra 5 points of UMA. That was enough to seal the deal for Andrew.
Yeah, that past win, it's very difficult to decide when to do it. I did one of those in my game, and then dealer decided to win 35 points off me.
I have also passed a win, and it led to me still finishing in 4th place with fewer points than if I'd just taken the win. So I've seen it work. I've seen it work wonders, but in a lot of cases, you're just grasping at straws and it causes only pain and sadness instead. I guess maybe if you take the win, you hope for one UDA to bring Andrew below 30K along with you, and that would create not just 3,900 points collected, but also you are no longer the only player below 30,000 points. That means you gain an extra 5 points of UMA that way. That also is somewhat relevant as well, though you're really, again, hoping for that UDA to land, and we won't know until we check the replay whether or not that would have happened.
Yeah, Ty's in this position where you can take the 4th here, but would really like to have been in a better position. Still, though, sitting here at around 75, so in a decent position still.
And of course, that was just game 1. They will be playing another one that starts in a mere 2 minutes, so he'll have his opportunity for revenge in short order. Looking at the overall playoff, standings, you did note that plus 200 is the mark for players in C1 and B3 as well to earn a double promotion spot. And right now we see Kaysen, Josh, and Paul clinging on to that 200 spot. Well, not so much Paul. He's just almost got that guaranteed after 20 games complete. But
Yeah,
Josh...
Kaysen also in good position. But yes, this was changed. It was 240 last year. But after a year, we're like, nah, it's not quite enough. So we reduced it down to 200. We wanted to see more than a couple double promotions because one of the big complaints in Armel is how long it takes to get up to the top divisions. And that is certainly a big issue and something that we as the league have been trying to address.
Absolutely. And so it looks like things are a lot more promising here for double promotions. At least 3 players in the hunt and more, like Lewis, Andrew, not too far back with a lot of games to play. We just saw Andrew with a big win to get close.
The game should be starting any second now, so maybe we should go ahead and jump in. It looks like they didn't take that long a break.
Yep, Ty will be our first dealer. Eric to sit in the south seat, Andrew across the table, and Brian in the north seat for this upcoming start. And after taking a 4th, I like to be in the east seat. I like to get a nice hand to open like this.
I would not complain about this. Floating Dora, Haku Anko, great shapes. On the right, maybe an Itsu in Manzu, decent shapes there as well. Across the way, Ooh, couple ways you can play. You can go all out on the Hornets, and that Forso definitely pushes it that way. Or you can just take the relatively quick hand. On the left, definitely the worst of the
Home.
bunch. Just Kanchan, Penchon, floater, 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 floater.
Ooh.
And when your floater count gets above, say, 4, you're not a good side usually.
Tai here, drawing the 4th White Dragon. I presume we'll see a con. It's worth a lot of foo. Basically a Han's worth
And
of
his
foo.
dealer. Ooh, this should be a Chi cut
Chi.
3. Yes, because this gives you the option to either just go for the Honetsu or not, depending
Chi.
what happens. Ooh, and I like this Chi here by dealer. It is the last 9, so kind of has to go for it. And can con on the next turn. Almost has to con.
Yeah, he's Shantan here. Really hoping to draw a connection to this 2-pin, but the 3-pin has come out 3 times already.
Now, this should just be the con. This is when you need the extra draw. And I feel if you're throwing the 6, you're basically saying, I'm not planning to con, and I just don't believe that.
And looking across the table, Andrew drew the 8-so and committed to the Honitsu. Could have taken the 6-pin, 9-pin Tempai.
Tempai waiting on 6-so. The 6-so that just came out.
Good timing.
Still 3 of them left.
Tempai here.
And you have to
Well, not
con
quite
now,
Tempai.
don't you?
Yeah, now
There's the
Tempai.
con. And gets the wrong side, but it is Tempai. Waiting on 5-8, and the 5
Don't.
comes right on out.
That becomes the right side at that point. 1 Han 60 foo with a plus 32 from the con.
And of course, anytime you're wondering on those foo values, one of the cheap tricks is double the foo is equivalent to 1 Han, so it's equivalent of a 2 Han 30.
Yeah, just half the number of Han in the hand and add 1 Han to your total. It makes it easier to score.
All right, dealer here with a few pairs, but not that great a hand. On the right, we have a south pair that is Yakuhai. Decent shapes elsewhere. Across the way, looks like a Pinfu hand, but needs a little bit of work, especially in the Sozu, 3-so, potential Itsu. And on the left, it's a Pinfu hand, nothing fancy there. You'd love to go Chinitsu, but it probably doesn't go quite enough yet.
Excited about that south draw for Eric. It gives him the option to call a 5-so if it comes out without having to worry. But now that we've drawn the 5 Mon, now that we've drawn the 3 Mon, they just guarantee good shapes.
Ton gonna get cut here. Keeps the 2-5. Normally, like holding the double east as long as possible, even with 1 out.
Yeah, especially when you have overlapping tile acceptance, unless there's a very specific reason you're looking to keep both the 2 and the 5. But
Right, but 2 of the 1s out. The 2's not that good a tile.
Mm.
Nate connects with the Pinzu shape there, possibly Peiko. We'll cut the 4 Mon. I don't like that one. I definitely go 4-pin or even something in Sozu. Vegan something in Sozu. Now Ishan 10 for dealer. Probably the 5-pin. You want to get really greedy, you can cut the 1-1, but 5 is the normal. There it goes.
Surely Andrew, that 4-Mon cut, is hoping for the 5-pin Samenchan draw, but that does lose the door acceptance, so potentially missing out on
Deuce
some
does a
value.
nice fill there on the right, but kind of an awkward hand to play. Cuts the 5-so.
Yeah, of course, on the right,
Potential for a 10.
already Yaman with the 3-4 shape and the 6-7 pin
Could.
shape.
Oh, I'd have definitely called the Dora. Forget this. You show me Dora, I prefer that to the Dora and Tempai call. And now I'd be able to con the South. Oh, no.
And not much would convince me to call in that spot, but Dora is just about the only thing.
Into the 5-so. It doesn't really help the hand,
Gee.
but this is another one. If you don't call it, you're basically giving up. So I'm fine with this. Goes with the 2-Mon. 2, that is Tempai here for dealer. It can be Shampon or the 7-so Kanchan. 7-so is really bad here, so you 2 of them out, so it should be the Shampon. Figuring the 1-Mon might come right on out, and it's drawn immediately, and gets held at least for now.
One slightly safer tile first, but Eric's really been gunning for this Tempai, and so we'll likely deal it out once the 2 or 5 Mon or 5-8
4-pin, I would definitely call that the 8 Suji and now the 7 Suji. There goes the 1, dodges the Apatsu, but it is Vila and Orichi. No Ura, so the 23. And we get another repeat here for Tai. Now East 1, Holmba 2 has a Pinfu hand, but needs a lot of work here. Kanchun's everywhere, and a couple Penchun. On the right, pretty good efficiency hand. 7-so would really help. 9-so is going to draw Evity Peiko option. Across the way,
Pom.
you have the Shaw pair, maybe a Toy Toy. You have the Chun floater. So it may just be Shaw Dora 2. You'd love to go to Ratonki. Of course, you really want is another Chun, of course. Anytime you can draw Dora to pair up, it's very nice. On the left, Ishan 10 for just pay.
Yeah, and for
Doesn't take it, though. You'd normally cut the 8-mon here, but instead cuts from the Pinzu shape.
not necessarily seeing the greed play here, but for dealer, you start out kind of how you wanted. You
Well, I
bunch
did
of
ask for the
hands.
Chu, and there it is. Now, Ishunten actually for Chitoitsu. Not really
Pom.
what you expect that hand to become, but if it comes, I guess you take it.
Likewise, Eric on the right had a choice to go Chitoy, backed away from it, and now draws the 3-so. I believe that would have been Tempai.
7-so is a great fill there,
Shit.
because it's going to get called, and now Tempai on 2-5 pin.
It would be a huge hand for Brian to win. Not really. 1,000 points is not really the hand that you think is necessary to win, but with what's being shown across the table, definitely necessary.
5-so pair up. Ugh. Everything's just awkward in hands like this. I hate this type of hand. You see, it wants to go about 8 different directions, and they're all bad.
The wall says, should have kept the 6-pin. Should have kept the 6-pin.
And reminded you on the second turn that, yeah, you should have kept 6-pin again, even for E10.
Yeah, there's one more 6-pin. Can we find it? 1-so.
No. 2 will deal in, though. Okay, I kept the 1 for now, but I imagine the 2 has to come out pretty soon.
Ty doesn't know it, but it's to his benefit to drop the 2-pin.
And there's the hard sellout on it. Could switch here to the 1-4. Will not do so.
Yeah, cutting the Chuzo here makes the Chunpon basically impossible.
And punished.
Each.
That is a wall of backfires. We have Tempai on the right now for Ricci Toln, waiting on 3-6 pin. So 3-6 versus 2-5 right now.
Kind of amazingly, Tai is technically Ishanten.
Dealer thinking about the pull in there for a little bit. Doesn't matter. And there's the sumo. The cheap hand wins. Picks up the 300, 500, and the stick in the home ball. And we move to East 2.
2 5-pin weight. It was stalled so long. But did collect an extra Ricci stick from the weight.
Dealer did also manage to not deal in, which is pretty impressive. I definitely would have. Eric here has a Pinfu type hand, also has a floating Dora Haku. Would love to pair that up. On the right, that's definitely a Tanya, maybe Ricci Pinfu Tanya Ipeiko. Across the way, Pinfu hand, nothing fancy. And on the left, we have a Tone Pone, and waiting on 5-8 pin, all ready for Tempai.
Yeah, it might be a while before we see the 8-pin come out, but there's a decent chance it comes out from Brian's hand upon improving in the Sozu, or even out of the dealer's hand upon drawing the 7-pin.
Yeah, so 2 5s in the wall, 1 8 in the wall right now. And that 9 going to kind of incentivize this hand to move a bit towards Sanjuku, but still has a few other shapes to get rid of yet.
A lot hinges on how dealer's hand improves here.
Ooh,
And
well, there it is. Yeah, greeds the Sanjuku and deals in, but it's 1,000, no big deal.
yeah, it was going to be Junchan Santroku, which seems worth a little bit of greed.
All right, Andrew Dealer here has a floating Dora, a whole bunch of Monzoot tiles on the right. Couple pairs, really hard to tell what the hand's going to be. Maybe an Itsu. I think you just play officially, see what happens. Across the way, ugh, it's going to be Richidobe. It's really hard for it to be anything other than Richinomi. Maybe Yakuai pairs up and you brute force some sort of Honitsu out of it, but yeah. On the left, maybe an Itsu, a whole bunch of Manzu tiles, maybe a Tanya. There are a few different ways the hand can get played.
봄,
We see the 9 Mon gets denied, called on the right.
Mm.
There is the East pair, so you can just Atazuke. That appears to be the plan.
I guess with the right set of draws, you can also end up in Honitsu as well, but it's a bit far-fetched.
Well, especially if you're cutting the 8, you're not even thinking about it.
Tai found the path to more value, ended up drawing the 7-so, and then the Dora 5-so. Unfortunately, can't call the 6-so.
Yeah, and now gets the 8 with the backfire 9. There's even a route for Itsu. Who knew that's what that hand was going to be?
Tough to...
Pairs up the 8, extends the shape
Each.
in Manzu, but Tenpai on the left would love a Chong comp. We know that's not going to happen because the last 9 is in dealer's hand. So waiting 6-9, there are 2 6s left. Tenpai now on the right, waiting for the tone. Will be told no me.
Very curious to see how aggressively Brian holds this Tempai, because it can only win on the tone.
롱,
Well, throws it. Richi Pinfu, dealer tries to fight this, deals in, but it's cheap, no big deal.
You know, I
Does
don't
drop
know.
to 4th place, but we now have a new dealer.
I don't know that we've seen any Uda hit today. Maybe it's just because open hands have been mostly the ones that are winning, but
There have been a lot of open hands. But Brian here has kind of a Pinfu hand, not a great one. Interesting cutting the 2 pin. You do lose the door acceptance. You have all these floating honors you get rid of first. On the right, we have a Pinfu type hand, but again, just ugly shapes. Maybe with a 2 pin, you go Itsu. You do have a door acceptance. You have a Ryankan. So that 2 instantly makes that hand viable. It's not great, but it's not bad. Across the way, similarly, standard Pinfu hand, Pinfu Tanya, but you do have the 1 pin, which because it's door, you don't want to cut immediately, but probably will come out eventually. And on the left, you have a Chun pair, a whole bunch of Sozu tile, but probably not enough for Honitsu. May just be Chun Nomi.
except for the fact that Chun is Mochi Mochi.
Well, for now, but at the same time, it's probably going to remain that way just because the 1 mon pair incentivize you to keep the Chun.
Yeah, Brian's got this awkward Ishanten spot where he doesn't really want this 1-2 so Penchon, but he doesn't have anything better so far.
Well, the best hand is across the way, potential Richi Pinfu Dora 2. Maybe even 3-sided.
I think if I'm Brian here, I like holding the 5 mon over the 8 pin. Even though the 8 pin leads to Summon-chan, 5 mon just has better tile acceptance and Ipeko chance.
No, 9 isn't going to help here. 2-so pair up. Might even go 8 pin. Does do so. It is passed. Doesn't want to go for the open Itsu route. Of course, has the 5 pair, so it's not really a normal play to go for the Itsu.
And not feeling too sad about this 9 pin. It's really just the waiting game for the Chun and any sort of Tempai.
And we know we'll be waiting a while, but this should be a pull-in for Tenpai. Passes it. This is the last one. I do not like this pass.
That does really rely on the 3-so at this point, because even the 2-so is once cut already. Brian might just be out of his hand now.
Which is a reasonable position, except for, being dealer. I never like giving up on hands when I'm dealer.
Each.
But there's our Tempe across the way, 3-sided. Richi Pinfu, Dora 2, 2-5-8. You see a whole bunch of tiles light up, and there are still a bunch in the wall.
봄,
Yeah, 2 tiles left in the wall, and none of
June
them being
switches
held.
the 3-so. Sanzo, good weight, wins. Power of Sanzo, just thought immediately, definitely before I did.
I was wondering if the Ricci would encourage the Chun to come out, but I was thinking, well, you have 7-so and 9-so paired up in hand, both of which are Genbutsu to the Ricci, so the Chun will surely never come out, and yet it did, allowing Brian the opportunity to win the hand.
Brian has a decent, not a great hand here, but pretty standard Pinfu. On the right, we have a Dora, decent shape, so it'd be fine with a hand like that. Across the way, Pinfu, maybe some shifting down towards, or up towards Nipeko, rather. 6-0, though, just fills it. It's not just Ishunten. Potential Dora. On the left, what about Kokoshi?
10 unique tiles. It's not bad. But Eric is so fast. When you've got Kokushi, you expect the other players to be somewhat decent in terms of the shapes. But Eric definitely showing he's got a hand to contend with.
Oh, well, now I think you just go for it.
All the honors are confirmed in Andrew's Kokushi already, so just looking for 1s and 9s.
There's one of them. Ishunten for Kokoshi Muso needs a pair. Any pair is Tempai.
And the 9-mon would be 13-sided.
13-sided closed, non-furry 10.
Ooh.
But there's our Ricci. There's our Tempai. Waiting on the 9-mon for Kokoshi Muso.
9-mon sort of Sotogawa to this Ricci. It shouldn't deal into the Ricci.
And you can't think he's already Tempai. There's no way.
No, but you see him shoving these So tiles. Maybe there's just not that much to work with, so... The player's probably much more focused on this
Two left
Ricci.
in the wall. Versus the 3-6, which is actually really good in the wall, too.
Yeah, 5 tiles.
Oh, no!
No!
The Ricci Nomi!
Shutting down the Kokushi. There's an Ura. That doesn't make it feel any better.
Ooh, that hurt.
It was a very good, very live tile, the 3-6. And unfortunately for Andrew, pulled in one of those 5. Could not find the 9-mon first. And the rest of the
It says, I'll take my 9-mon this hand. Going for the Chanta immediately. That's about all you can do with that call. On the right, Pinfu. Now, actually, Ishunten. Wouldn't be Pinfu on it, but Ishunten for Ichinomi. Across the way, Shaw pair can just call and go. And on the left, Pinfu type hand has 2 Dora. 4 pairs even, so a few ways you can play that. East doesn't do anything, but the 5 does even less, so it's going to come out. And there is our Tempai on the right.
Wow.
Will it be taken? Now, he did say Sanso good tile,
Yeah.
but we'll Dama for now.
We have
3-so is
seen-
actually dead.
3, yeah, 3 in hand, 1's cut. And Eric's done the wait 1 turn before.
This should be 2-pin normally. Cuts the 3, same idea.
There's just too many pairs in that hand, so eliminating 1. You could even, if the 1-mon wasn't, 1-so rather, wasn't Dora, you'd just probably throw that for Tanya, but of course, this Dora, we're going to hold that.
I feel if you're going to do this Dama, you should probably be cutting the 4-so there. And now you'd have
Yeet.
Peiko on the 8, and that would be good enough. Instead, Richi Nomi on the dead 3-so.
Chi.
Calls it to Breakipatu and potentially fight this for Chanta. But the Dora is very unlikely to come out here, so I don't think that the 3-1's going to be that big an issue. Just waiting for the 2-so. Can, of course, pull in the East if it comes out, which it may right here from Dealer. Throws the 1 first. That's going to be Tempai. We'll throw the 9, waiting on 2-so. 2-so has 2 left in the wall at this point for Chanta, Dora, Shah.
The dealer's still looking for a pair up. East, not so easy to find. North is a little bit better, though.
The worst imaginable draw, though, for Andrew would be another Dora.
Oh, that would be tragic. There is 1 door in the wall. Both
Yeet.
Andrew...
Oh, that's Tempai. There's Ricci, Dora 2 or 3.
3 players now that want the door at 1 player reach that cannot use it.
Oh, yeah, you're never throwing that. You're never throwing the Dora there.
Yeah, Andrew's just committed, not even hesitating here. There's the Tempai.
There's Senpai. Just shoves it.
Dong.
The 2, though, deals in Shaw Chantadora. And the Ricci 6. Decent win there as a result.
Andrew may not have won the Kokushi, but between the two hands, he got the better of it.
All right, dealer here is Eric. Has a couple pairs and an Onko. You start dreaming Suanko since it's only turn 1, but it's likely just going to end up being Tanya. We'll see what happens with that one. Ooh, cuts 4-pin immediately. Doesn't even consider Tanya.
Feels like Chitoy.
Might even be Toy Toy, depending on if any of those honors pair up. But now you just have a connection to the Dora, and everything feels really bad. I really don't like that 4-pin cut. But on the right, we have Ricci, probably Ricci Nomi hand. Similarly, might be able to move it towards a tidy, but it's a long way off. Across the way, though, definitely a better hand there. Anko of Shaw, Hatsu pair, a few pairs elsewhere. And on the left, 3 Dora, Ishanten. Best hand, definitely the one on the left.
Yeah, lots of hands with pairs or triplets. Dealer picking the wrong dragon to keep, unfortunately. You can never know which one you're going to draw.
And eventually decides to cut the 4. Oh, Tempai, which well, you have to
Yeet.
take the 6-7 weight, don't you? Because there are 2 4s out.
And you get the Nakasuji trap this way as well, so 6-pin could be a surprise deal in.
Should just be the 1 so, which would be cheat for Tempai. No, throws the 8, fighting this head on. 9 is right by door, but thrown on a Patsu turn, and the 7 passed. I think that Eric's out here.
Eric did draw the 3-pin though, so is technically Ishanten. There's the, well, would have been 8 sumo for Tai, should the slightly worse weight have been taken.
There's this hat you have to take, especially once the 9 has cleared and the 3 is cleared.
Two players waiting on 6-pin. Tai also gets the 7-pin, and Brian gets the 5 so, which is held.
And it's important that Brian's upgrades make him Furiton, so the 6 is probably never coming out.
That's true. 5-pin and 7-pin both don't help. However, the 7-pin will deal in.
Well, there's the 6. We might see a double row. Oh. There it is! The cheap hand, just the Hatsu, gets the stick back, but there's the expensive hand. There you see the Dora, and that's a Mangon. Andrew with a double row deal in. Dropped.
Really fighting for that hand, and that's going to cost him going to South 3. 18k now, but the dealership in his hands. With the 4 Sodora. An early call across the table from Tai, aiming for the green dragon, the Toy Toy, and the Dora 2 or 3. On the right, potentially a Tanya. Maybe Pinfu could be incorporated into that as well, should we fill one of the Kanchan shapes. On the left, Eric with multiple pairs, but no Dora, and that 3-pin will confirm that it's probably a Ricci hand, maybe a Shaba weight. If we can draw 7 so or 5 so, we can think about Tanya and Pinfu as well. Even the 4 so would probably cut the east pair. Another 6 so is interesting though.
I think you should always go east-east there. You get your Tanya route. You have the possible Intotsu you're not that worried about with the 2 9s out. So I definitely go east-east. I don't think you'd gain anything doing it this way. But if you know the 6 is dead, then this looks pretty good.
In the meantime, our dealers collected a number of Mon tiles, but still the 3-5-6 pin.
Oh no! Across the way, kills off the Haku and immediately pairs up the other dragon.
I guess. All right, just.
Yeah, just wants the Yakuhai Dora 2.
That's totally fine at a 41k first.
But it'll also be Yakuhai Dora 2 or Yakuhai Dora 3.
Yeah, I might start by cutting 6 mon, and then 2 pin, and just hold the 8 mon pair in case we have to pull net and play for the toy toy.
Boom.
There's Senpai. Waiting on Chun for Mongon or Forso for Mongon. Uh-oh. It's not going to be just yet. This should just be the 7 for now, but that hand is getting very dangerous on the right, especially if, say, 3-pin is drawn.
I guess if 3 pin is drawn, we just cut the 3-so, use the 4-so as the pair, and get a 3-sided weight.
Chi.
Oh, and even here, we'll just call for it.
Okay,
Fuditen
gets out of here.
Con?
Khan and 4-pin is the new Dora, so one revealed
Eat.
on the right. That's going to be Ricci. Dealer takes the Karagiri, says, okay, well, I was messing around, but if you're going to give me that, I'll take it. This is 3-sided 258.
Oh, but the Chun,
The
and Brian
Chun,
has
that's
a
going to be a
Mongon.
Mongon if it deals in. If it gets thrown, it's
Boom.
gone. There it is. Hatsu, Chun, Dora 2, Mongon.
Yeah, it was a collection of Mongon hands fighting each other. And even with the 50-10, Brian says, this is worth fighting for. I don't believe you've got it. But Tai did indeed have it, and now has 50,000 points going into all last.
Yes, and more importantly, everyone else is also under 30k, so would get the bonus Uma here. Dealer here is Brian with a couple pairs and a Haku. I think you just want the Haku because you want to get to that 30,000 if nothing else. On the right, Pinfu type hand. Ooh, 5's an Onko now, maybe even Sonako. I'd go 9-so first
Agreed.
and see what happens. Yeah, that's going to be the play. On the right, nice little... That 4-so really helps getting rid of the overlapping shape. We do have that 1-2 pin you to fill the penchant on the 6-8 Mon. That's not great. Across the way, ugh. You have a south pair up, but that's Dora. Everything else in that hand, though, is hideous. On the left, we have maybe an Itsu in Monzu, but everything else, it's a really hard hand to play.
Ooh, what do you do,
4-pin's
Brian?
really interesting. Doesn't believe in the cheat toy. Okay, the fast hand appears to be the open one across the way, looking for that south. Maybe could us back into a toy. Dealer now waiting on Haku. Otozuki with the Tubon.
Yeah, maybe a slight inefficiency there if your plan is to aim for the Sananko. 8-so, slightly better cut, because then you can draw the 4-pin Onko and have the Sananko, but ends up just calling anyway for this Atosuke Haku.
Oh, there it is. There's the non
Dora.
and breaks away from the Tempai. This could have been Tempai on 3-so. It just feels like it comes out if anyone draws it. Gets greedy here for the Honetsu.
They're going for it all. Potentially Yakuhai, Toy Toy, Honitsu, Dora 3.
Oh, and that would have been the win. We'll see if it still pays off, but we feel it probably would have already won by now. And on the left now, getting very close to a closed Honitsu. Tempai now across the... Doesn't take it!
The epitome of greed at this moment.
Doesn't even think about it either. There was not a second hesitation on that con.
Either a misclick or he knew what he wanted from that trial. Oh my goodness. Toy Toy or nothing at this point.
Ooh. By the way, we're Ishuntin for Churen.
Oh, but cuts the 4 for Tempai instead. The opposite of greed. On display here from Andrew. Oh, and the 9's gonna come out.
The 9 deals in. And that is Honitsu. I imagine you have to take it. It's 6,400, isn't it?
It will be enough to overtake, for sure.
Yes, it's probably doing the food calcs here. With the Onko of 1s, that's worth a ton. Yeah, it is 64, and that's going to be first place, or gets out of last anyway. And, oh no. Well, the big winner here is going to be Tai with plus 40. In second place, Brian gets the minus 1.5. Third, Andrew manages to sneak in there with a minus 11.3 third. And poor Eric could have taken the cheap win, which would have been the manga, and would have been enough to get over it into the positive. Instead, goes for the Miracle Baimon and doesn't even get Denpai there at the end. But I think the highlight or low light of this game is the Kokushi.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to review that. I'm not sure the table knows yet that there was a Kokushi Tenpai, but Perhaps after the game, Andrew will inform them, or they'll see it in the log review. Perhaps they're even watching this stream. Nonetheless,
My
after
voice kind of gave out towards the end there, so I'm going to drop. We have a substitute commentator now, Tucker.
yeah, thanks so much, Korak, and welcome, Tucker.
What's up? Bye, Korak.
I saw you were in the chat for that last game. I imagine that you had a lot of fun with the ending there.
Yeah, I entered like I started I came in right when the Kokoshi reached Ishan essentially. And I was like, "Oh boy, what a time to step in." Well, I'm just going to sit back and watch. I think there's no smooth way to get in here.
Yeah, what a hand
But
that
that was
was.
a fascinating game.
All sorts of different incentives at play there. Andrew will still hold a pretty decent mark here at plus 179.3 after 2 games in 5th position overall. Ty, after a 4th place, will come back with a 1st place. That is larger than the 4th place. So in the positives as well after 2 games. And Brian, the unfortunate recipient of 2 second places that are negative, just slightly below 30K. So we'll be right around where he started in this session, but we have more action yet to come.
I'm really interested in how C1 has these 4 people. I mean, before this game there were 5, but currently 4 people at double promotion currently because the whole idea behind the double promotion was like, well, like if one person really kills it, then just let them move up faster. But then having this situation where so many, like 4 seems like a lot of people to be over 200. Like that just seems really, really outside of expectations.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to go back into the historical standings and see just how close maybe previous seasons were to accomplish that mark. For example, I know last season was that the first season, or is my sense of time warped? The first season of double promotions,
Two,
2 seasons ago,
I want
perhaps.
to say it was 2 seasons ago because I had the double promotion amount the season before they did it, and they announced it the season after I had so that's how I think yeah. So I think it was 2 seasons ago that they did
Gotcha.
it. They did it, and I
Well,
was like, gosh darn it.
if we look at the C1 division last season, it was a split division due to the number of entrants. Andrew absolutely dominated his division with Andrew O, that is, with plus 308.1. So he definitely earned his double promotion. And there's one other player who earned the 2 other players that earned the double promotion, Zayang and Emily, both with over 300 points. And there were 2 players that just missed out on the plus 240 cutoff that was in existence in that season. Cliff at plus 238.4 and Alex at 207.2. If there was a 200-point mark to earn the double promotions, both of those players would be earning that. So that would be a total of 5 players. So I guess maybe it's not too surprising given the statistics of
Yeah.
last season that we have 4 right now. And maybe by the end of the season, we could increase that to 5 as well, because Andrew is right on the bubble as well as, I believe, 1 more player.
Yeah, that's really interesting to me. I guess when you look at the spread of positives to negatives, it makes a little bit more sense because just like there's 11 people over 100, and as we said, 5 of those are really close to really 6 of those are really close to the 200 mark. But then looking at the bottom, there's also 11 people at negative 100 or less, but really only 4 getting close to negative 200, with most of those points being in just 2 scores.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah, maybe I guess that's just part of being more people, is that the variance is inherently going to be more unwieldy.
yeah, that's true. C1 division this season is extremely large. And of course, double promotions exist in the B3 division as well. And I think there are a couple players who are currently in position to double promote out of B3. And that is the last division that in which double promotions are allowed unless we get a new C2 division next season, which is in the air right now. Edwin is doing the math with all the new entrants into the league to see if we'll have the number of players necessary to create a C2 division. So if you have not yet registered for the upcoming spring season, make sure to do so before March 10th. You have 5 days to do so. You can visit the website americanrichi.org to find the sign-up link. And you'll want to get that in before the deadline so that you can be included in those number calculations. But yeah, looking at the B3 division, actually no one's hit that 200 point mark just yet, but Carl's very close to doing so. Incidentally, Carl, one of the players who participated in the World Ricci League event that happened simultaneously in 3 different states this past weekend, and he earned a spot into the playoffs. He was the wild card spot into the playoffs out of the Chicago qualifiers, and those will be happening later, I believe March 23rd, and that will be run online through Armos. So we will look forward to being able to watch those in the near future. A lot of names that have made that final that you recognize from the ARML itself. So it'll be very exciting to watch those players in action. All right, I'm looking to the schedule to see about our next game, and I thought we'd have it right now, but they seem to be delayed. So perhaps in the stead of the game from Division B3, we can catch the tail end of another C1 series that's been going on while we were watching C1-8. And one of those players is Lewis, who has just recently taken over 200 points in the C1 division. And so he's on the hunt for a double promotion as well. I'll take just a moment to insert the new names, and then we can hop on over to the game that is already in South 2. And a few of those names I recognize. Lewis, of course. Lewis Q. Ray is playing in this match. And then who else do we have? Alex and Carter. Sound exists.
And it looks like we're coming in here with Carter as the current dealer and also the current leader. A little less than 10K over second at 50K. This is a pretty wide gap between second and third.
Yeah, very much one of those games where there's 2 different contests going on, 2 different battles.
Chi.
One for first
What
place,
do you think
one
of
for...
that, Chi? Oh, it's late. This is like K10, I suppose.
Yeah, 15 draws remaining. It is technically Tenpai, but it has no Yaku, of course.
It just felt like turn 3 of the game because we just got here. So I was like, maybe they had some grand dream of a 6-7-8 Sanshoku, but
I guess it could still have time for a 6-7-8 Sanshoku. Just have to draw perfectly.
yeah, the Chis don't really help you here since you can't swap Chi.
Home.
That Tenpai is winnable on the 2-pin Tuso. That's Tanyao with 2 Dora, thanks to the con.
In the meantime, Alex on the right opens up for the double south Dora 1. With a 6-9, so wait.
Hope we can get rid of this 9-mon. Oh, no more draws.
Unfortunately, the 6-0 wasn't drawn because both of those, the 6 and the 9, so dealt in. But 2 players Tenpai, Carter will extend the lead, and Alex as well will extend the lead over 4th place.
And actually, that was pretty significant. That 4,000 point gain that Alex just got on Louise, that's not nothing. They're still around 18K apart, but 18 is much more manageable, especially with the dealership left. Or not, 18 is not more. Yeah, 18 is more manageable than 22.
For sure.
Dealer here starting with 2 Dora. And not bad shapes, especially with that 6-0 draw. That 1-2 so is definitely going to drag the hand down, though. Probably going to see them get rid of that if they don't fill it soon.
Yeah, some interesting paths for this hand. That 8 months going to pose the question immediately. How do you want to play this? Just take the Ishanten as you have it with the 1-2 in hand, or hope to improve elsewhere? And Carter makes the move that I think I would have made as well. Just play for the Tanyao and the future tile acceptance rather than the immediate tile acceptance.
Yeah, these shapes are just so malleable. And now it's like a Pinfu, essentially.
Yeah, Pinfu Door 2, totally acceptable. If you end up finding Tanyao in the future, that's also fantastic.
Let's see, I don't know. Can anybody else really fight this speed-wise? Alex has a couple of kind of lumbering shapes in hand, although that Hatsu and the ability to call could speed it up. The 6-mon definitely helps, could get rid of the 9-mon on a later turn, but right now it's going to possibly hold out for Itsu. Still 3 isolated honors in Ray's hand, unfortunately. Oh, there's the Riichi Pinfu Dora 2 Riichi.
Oh, and the 4-pin Onipatsu drawn, and does not clear even with the early 1-pin cut. So Uda as well for the 18,000 points. Carter lapping up the points now. 69,800. The dealership continues.
Yeah, Dealer Hanuman just always completely changes the landscape of any game it happens in. 18,000, especially as a direct exchange, is so significant.
Indeed, and for a while, Lewis probably thought they had a very good chance at first, but now that gap looks almost insurmountable.
Especially without a dealership left.
And now we get to see whether Carter gets to play for the Chinitsu or a Honitsu, or maybe just take whatever comes their way.
Yeah, at this point, you don't really have to force anything, but if the tiles are going to keep coming to you, you're not going to say no. I mean, there's a lot of clunky shapes all around the table. Probably Lewis on the left has the best shapes for fighting. Has 3 Rionmen, an Anko, and then a pair of the Dora Non to call. And there's one of the Rionmen filled. Both of the other 2 hands have Pinchons that are slowing them down. Although I think actually, yeah, Alex had started discarding. Oh, Alex had just started discarding that Pinchon and immediately drew the 8-pin. Or the 7-pin, rather, that would have completed it. Which always seems to be how that goes.
Of course. Still chance to redraw into that shape. Plenty of 6-pins at the wall. And the south comes out. That will be called Door 3 south.
6-pin, 9-pin. Oh! What? No, why?
Perhaps a
6-pin fit hand.
I was going to say it was a stroke of genius cutting the 9-pin ahead of time so that you didn't have to drop it when you discarded or when you drew into the 6-pin, but unfortunate result there as that finds the Mung on hand. Now Alex has to come back from the negatives.
The dealership's the best place to do that, though, and with 2 complete shapes and a Dora in hand, you can get value out of this. Potentially. Oh, I think a pre-cut there, a sort of Ray decided that she was going to play for the Junchan or the Chanta and said, I can't use 2 3-pins, and instantly cut it out despite having drawn the 3rd. Or, maybe could be
despite drawing the 3rd, had decided that it was going to be Junchan anyway. So we'll hope that works out to be an expensive hand. The 3rd 3-pin comes out. You'd never expect a 1-pin wait here.
I actually really like this. The more I look at it, the more I like this line of thought. You have these 2 Dora, you have all of these clunky shapes, even though you just got rid of, a whole shape, essentially. Like, being able to open for this hand with 2 Dora and end the dealership of the person you're in most direct competition with currently, everybody's really spread out at this point. But still, like, I feel like there are some pretty interesting tactical advantages to playing the hand this way, even though I don't know that everyone would have made the same decision right off the cuff.
Junchan Door 2 is a Mongon already, so it's not like you need more value doing something else with the Riichi.
and actually was just killing Carter's weight before Carter could get Tempai, I think. Waiting 3-pin, 6-pin. And there's nothing that makes 3-pin, 6-pin look safe, but it doesn't look like a fun thing to be waiting on. There still are 3 left in the wall, though.
Yeah, Ricci only here for Carter, but certainly is going to make it hard for any of these other players to challenge.
That was a really long hesitation on that 9-pin. What do you think was being weighed there by Alex?
Maybe early K10 thoughts, but now with another Ricci on the board, Ray did
Is this
end up.
8 so completely live?
It is.
Well, there's 1 in the hand, obviously, but it's the Dora indicator, so there's 2.
Yeah, outside of the ones that are visible, there are none other hidden in hands, so the 2 remaining tiles are in the wall. And that would be Ricci, Junchan, Ipeiko, Dora 2. That is a Haneban.
Yeah, that would be pretty significant. Oh, and now the chase waiting 2-so 5-mon. Are there any more of those left? We see all the 2-so, we see all the 5-mon. Oh, but the 6-pin's gonna win it.
Oh, an unfortunate hand. The cheap one wins when they're 2 much more expensive hands. With the Ricci declared, however, that will send us into all last. An opportunity for the dealer Ray to start working her way up to 30k. Haku pair in hand. Probably just call this down for a quick 1500 and see what happens in the next round.
Yeah, this is one of those rounds where I feel like everyone has a kind of clearly obvious goal in mind. First place is second place. Like, second place is, unless they're dealt a Yakuman, is never going to be able to catch first. You probably just want to end the game before you lose any points. First place obviously just wants the game to be over, but you can fold as soon as anything happens. You're so far ahead. The big question mark here is, how do you play this hand if you're Alex? Are you doing everything you can to get like a Baimon Sumo so that you can, because let's see, Hanuman Sumo wouldn't quite be enough. So you have to have a Baimon Sumo at least. Like, are you doing everything you can to make that happen? Or are you just like, if you get a Mongon, you take a Mongon and just get 8 more points on your overall score?
I think that's how I would approach this. I mean, at this point in the season, just looking to play the game of Mahjong as effectively as possible. There's a quick win for Ray, as expected, just 500 all. And really going to hope for something to come up in this round. Maybe Dorchun. Okay, a couple triplets. That's something. Oh, and a quad.
I was about to add, what is, okay, so quad is English. What is like the Japanese term for 4 in a hand that you have not called?
I was hoping you wouldn't ask that. Naturally, when you
did you hear it? Did you feel it coming?
I did. When you call it, obviously, it's when it's concealed, it's an oncon, but in the hand, it's just 4 tiles in hand. There may be a name for it, but I'm not quite sure what that is.
It really feels like Carter's going to win this hand any moment. Like this turn, probably.
You're absolutely right. Just shutting things down with 1,000 plus 300 Homba. So huge win. It's pretty amazing when you are at 73,000 points and not the only player above 30k. So big props to second place Lewis here for a plus 20.8 second place. That will help him in his march for the double promotion, and we can see that being updated live. Lewis moving up to that double promotion zone. Carter hops into huge positives now, plus 66.5. And remember, in the C1 division, just because you're not in one of the guaranteed promotion spots doesn't mean you're not promoting. The first and foremost, your goal is to just be positive. If you're positive, you have a chance to promote. The more positive you are, the better your chance to promote, because very frequently, due to the hiatus situation or league expansion, there are a number of bonus promotion spots. So Carter, with a big win here, vastly improves his chance at getting into the double promotion, or rather into a promotion.
Yeah, and those extra promotion slots like trickle down. Like in A2 there might be one extra promotion in a season. In B1 there might be a couple, but like once you get down to C1, you often end up with, as many as 10 people, 10 extra people who have been promoted if the space allows for it.
All right. Well, as this game was finishing, we did have our expected B3 table opening up. Let me just take a look at the schedule to make sure. Yeah, that will be the only game for a while. So we'll go ahead and take a minute to prep for that B3 game. We'll expect to see 1.5 of those games. And then coming up to the next hour, there'll be action from A1, B1, and B2. We'll have our choice of games at that moment in time. For now, we'll be off for a minute, but back with more action soon. See you when those next games begin. All right, so we have our B3 folks lined up, ready to go. In fact, they've already hit East 4 in only, what, 8 minutes, 10 minutes, something like that?
Yeah, they are chugging through this game. And this is a fascinating hand to kind of stroll in on. At first glance, it feels like it's a really, really good hand, but I don't know how you would actually end up completing this other than just a lot of really lucky draws.
Yeah, for the dealer, a number of hard shapes to complete. 8-8-9 Mon, awkward. 1-3-3-5, so awkward. But it is possible to fill the Kanto shapes and get there. On the right, it looks like Barb is opening up for Yakuhai only. Maybe holding out for that door. Although, that actually can't be used because it's been tripled up on the left.
That happened kind of right after we came in, and it's already Tenpai waiting 6-mon, 9-mon, which luckily for Barb was
Yeah, unluckily for Travis, though. That is going to be drawn from that Kutsuki Ishanten. And surprise, I'm just Tenpai already. And that will be a Mangan victory.
And now we're in this situation where you have 3 people within 5,000-ish points, all above 30K, and only Travis below 30K. So this upcoming, the next dealership after Barb's turn will be interesting to see what Travis can do to try and turn things around. Gonna have to get past Barb first, though, and there's 3 Kanchans and the 2 Ryanman in the hand overlap. So this isn't the most efficient hand, but anytime you start out with 5 blocks, I feel like you can't be too upset.
Yeah, interesting here, cutting away from the 9, so that had the potential to build into an Itsu, and instead held for the potential pair-up of the East or the South Wind, even though the South was cut once already. So also cutting the East over the South here is a non-traditional discard order. And
well, the South's already been discarded. Oh, wait, but no. I just said the opposite of what...
It's interesting, and this might be by design. Maybe just planning to build the shapes, maybe 1, 2, 3 Sanshoku.
1, 2, 3 Sanshoku, yeah, that's what I was about to say. Although that 1 mon just came into hand, so it would have been pretty prescient if Barb was considering that earlier. On the right, Travis has 1 complete shape and then 3 pairs and a Pinchan, so that's another slow hand.
On the left, good patience by Henry to not call the 5-mon into Tenpai. Instead, draw the 5 so and get this gorgeous 3-sided Riichi Pinfu, potentially Tanya as well. Wait, even thought about that a while before taking the Riichi. Perhaps thinking about waiting 1 turn to maybe draw the Dora, but feels much stronger to just slam this Riichi.
Yeah, turning the wait 1 turn when you already have the San Minchan, Riichi Pinfu, and 67% ish roughly at Tanyao seems a bit excessive. Even Dustin wouldn't wait 1 turn for that. This is an interesting question, though. What do you discard if you're Mark?
Yeah, that is an excellent question. Goes with the 8-pin, just playing it safe here. Very tight scoreline here means that you really don't want to be the player to deal in.
Really relying on good draws, though. I guess the 2-mon and 3-mon are not bad discards. The 3-mon being 1 chance, the 2-mon being Suji, although Suji to the Riichi tile is always suspect.
But yeah, not much to defend with after that 8-pin, so you are really, as you said, relying on drawing safe tiles to try.
Was that Tuso totally live? It was.
Maybe a believer in long Suji.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no. The draws are making it kind of interesting, though. And there's the 2-mon coming out now that it's 100% safe. So I do think Mark is just playing defense.
Yeah, Mark
had the sumo and gets the Tanya.
Wow. If Mark had just played for the hand, would have also won, but would have had to shove a lot of dangerous tiles, so certainly understandable. This is an okay result, too. You didn't win the hand, but you didn't deal into that, so still there's a chance for Mark to take first place even now in South 2.
And now we're on Travis's dealership, and This hand is not as bad as some of the others that they've had so far. Our two worst shapes are at least complex, having the pairs as a part of them, so it's a lot easier for them to become several different things. And then on the right, we have a bunch of wins. Like, the only one that has an Onko is the East. All the rest are just singletons. At the very least, Mark is pushing for Honitsu here, discarding that 4-5 Ryanman. I am sure if more wins get drawn, that they will keep that in mind. Across the way, though, that Onko of 7 might already make Mark's Honitsu a little bit hard to find, according to what it ends up needing. Anytime there's a lot of ooh, there's the Khan of the East, flips one as the Dora, which nobody has currently. Actually, Sozu's a really interesting suit. A lot of the Sozu's already out. Like, we see on the left, Barb has a complete shape plus a Ryanman in Sozu, and then we have obviously the Pinchon pair in Travis's hand.
This is Chichi Tempai for Barb.
Oh, wow.
Each.
We'll just Ricci, okay. And waiting on the 8 perhaps because the 2 is close to the new Dora. The 8 is close to the original Dora, so it's really hard to say one way or the other. Maybe it's just the matter that a 2 is cut already and there are no 8 cut.
There's two ways to think about this. This early in the hand, I think I would rather not wait on because it feels so likely that your weight is going to end up getting eaten up by the Honitsu. If it's really late in the hand, then I like the weight because you're protecting yourself from dealing in to some extent. But this early, when the Honitsu is almost certainly not Tempai yet, I feel like I would have liked to see a couple of rounds of waiting. Even the 1 even though it's still a tile, it's Dora and a terminal, probably would have been a little bit better to see. Since no one discarded it early before it was Dora, there's some chance that it wasn't held yet. And now we have another Tempai, this one waiting 2-pin, 5-pin.
A really rough spot for Travis. Cannot afford to lose this hand. Must be Tempai, but had to discard the Dora into that Ricci and lose the value of this hand. Still has hope now that 6-0 did pass, and 2 5-pin is 4 tiles live in the wall. Compare that
as opposed to that 8-0, which does only have 1 left.
Odds in favor of the dealer.
Mahjong rarely cares about odds, though. I've found personally. Now you're in this weird situation where Dora is the safest thing to discard. 6-0, 6-0 would have been 2 safe turns.
No.
Although, there's a 2-pin.
That pawn shifted the dealing tile into Barb's hand, and that will just be 2,900. So not the biggest punish in the world. Trav will find the victory, get the repeat, and try one more time.
Not for nothing, I would like to point out that Barb ended up drawing 3 of the pairs in hand as Ankos. So could have been a Suanko Tempai in a different life.
Yeah, actually I noticed, if you declined to take the Ricci immediately, the Chun was the next draw. So there would have been some very interesting worlds where you just cut the 8 as well and look for a better Tonki tile, and then you draw another Anko, and then you really have to wonder what you're doing.
As it is, though, this is exactly what Travis wanted, especially hitting, well, I guess everybody was about even, so hitting anybody is good. Sumo, would you, if you're Travis, you want to win all hands. But do you feel like Sumos advance you further, or Rons?
That's kind of interesting, because if you roll somebody directly, that could increase the chance of another player being below 30,000 in case you do lose your dealership and end up in 4th. You do want to make sure someone else is below 30,000 with you to not lose a bonus 5 points of UMA. However, I guess it also increases your chance of surpassing somebody, but if you just continue to win hands, then Sumo gives you a chance at first, right? Especially if you get a big one.
Because you're bringing everybody down, yeah. And this isn't a bad hand to do it. Could even get a 4-5-6 Sanshoku here. 3-4-5 Sanshoku, a little bit harder with the 2-4-6 Ryankan and Mon. We do have the Chitoi Tenpai already across the table for Henry, waiting on 6-pin, probably waiting around for a better tile to wait on.
Yes, certainly. Chitoi only doesn't need to wait on a bad central tile like the 6-pin near Dora.
Is really thinking about pawning that 8-mon though. Maybe looked away, got Tenpai, looked away from the computer screen for a second, turned back, and you see that there's like a pawn. You're like, oh no, I didn't want to pawn that.
Oh. Poor Mononko
You just
as well.
lose all your weight
Let
time.
that go.
All right, now we have our Ryankan Ryanman Ishanten. Really want to draw into that Ryankan shape so that you get the Pinfu.
This is an interesting spot for Mark on the right. Ended up coming from the 7-so because the 8-so draw into Ipego Tenpai is quite good and gets it.
Wow.
That is some foresight right there. Slams the Ricci on the 7-mon just as Stormo gets the Hudi Tensha. So I guess we're not waiting on that either.
Shaw looked so fantastic before you realize that it's
Right?
already cut.
9-pin Gambits as well. Once again, some thought before letting it pass. Maybe just getting some extra thinking time, deciding whether or not this 6-pin will pass. How about Peitanki? That looks fantastic, but doesn't want to risk the 6-pin.
I don't think the 6-pin looks bad at all. We see all 4 2-pin and the 9-pin. So essentially the 6-pin is Nakasuji. Because no.
Not quite
wrong.
with the 2-pin.
It's the 4-5. Right. I had it backwards there.
The 8-pin discard this early really leads me to believe that I guess the 8-pin doesn't necessarily mean the 4-5 isn't there.
Wow, so much happened so
Henry
fast.
Henry just knew that the 3-mon was the weight and it was going to come out on Ipatsu. And I've seen him do this before.
And get the Ricci stick. And then pick up the Ricci stick later. Like, if you call it earlier, you don't get the Ricci stick.
He did this before on a 4-mon. Like, there's one game where he would just wait 4-mon Tonki over and over again, and it would always win. So maybe he just has an affinity with the Monzu Tonki weights.
Now we have the Pei Dora, which the North player has 2 of. So, I mean, normally when you have guest win Dora, it almost always spells sadness for whoever draws it. But in the rare occasion where it's your seat wins, you've got to be excited, especially as Travis here. Like, a Mongon makes a world of difference heading into all last if you're able to win this.
It does, especially if you can hit the dealer directly. Even hitting Barb directly would give some extra insurance that another player will be below 30,000 points alongside if you can't overcome the gap. Oh, but Barb draws the other pair of Norths.
Oh, man, it's going to be Mochi Mochi. Because you're going to drop 9-so or 9-mon before you drop the Dora Pei.
Absolutely.
For sure. And then Mark, of course, probably just has a fast hand the way it is. It looks like we have the Ishanten for Chitoi from Henry could get Tenpai now, could get Tenpai never. But Mark at least, I mean, can call multiple times if desired.
Travis is getting another route to value, though. 678 Sanchoku with door 2. Doesn't even need to call the North at this point.
And you end up discarding oh no, because the Pei would just be your pair.
Exactly.
And is Ishanten for that already, although we do see 3 8-pin now gone. That makes it a lot harder to aim for that.
Not what Travis wanted to see there. But gets the Tenpai.
Oh, wow.
Will slam even. So this way, if you win on the 5-pin and you don't get the Sanchoku, at least you're getting some extra points out of the deal.
And I mean, how do you play defense against this? The 2-mon is the only non-terminal honor that's been discarded.
You're going to start with a 1-pin. Gonna just push the Tenpai here? That's not a Tenpai that has a Yaku, but... Henry's going to try for it. Daimon is safe.
Well, is Ishanten for Toy Toy at least? And if you draw the 2-so or 4-so, could even end up Sananko.
Oh, but the last 8!
Oh, wow. Do you just start cutting east? I mean, everything looks dangerous other than the east.
take it. That's
does
not the
deal
person
in.
that Travis wanted to hit, but he'll take it. Uda for Hanuman. Some extra point does hit. I don't think that's going to change the standings, but going into all last, that gives Travis a chance.
I mean, it is a radically different score situation to be in, though, because now you're like 4 Han 20 Fu is enough.
Yeah,
Yeah,
gap
4
of
Han 20 Fu would be enough.
5,400. Or 28 sumo for sure.
So not having to rely on a Mongon. Whenever you can get it anything below Mongon to win, it just opens you up to so many more possible ways that you can build your hand and makes it harder for everyone else at the table to read what you're doing. If everyone knows you have to build a Mongon, it's easier for them to play defense against you. It actually makes it a little bit easier for them to push against you since they know kind of what you need.
Ooh, I'm surprised at the 6-mon cut. Travis is saying I'm not using Dora.
That is kind of interesting. And discarded the 2-pin early, so I don't think there's Honitsu or Chinutsu thoughts for Travis.
Hand is Ishaten. Maybe it's hoping for Sananko. It is Tempai now, but Itsu maybe is the value route.
I mean, there's Ura 3.
Yeah, Uda 3 always
I
works.
suppose.
Well, and also the placement didn't change after that deal-in, but Henry now no longer in such commanding first place that Barb has a chance to overcome this gap now.
Barb, who has 4 pairs. Pairs have just kind of been scattered all around this table for every hand that we've watched of it.
Some really challenging hands for players to work through right now.
I mean, you'd like the 4-so most of the time, but that 9-mon pair is just so hard to get rid of to get Tanya out of this hand. If you were going to do that, you would have gotten rid of it way earlier.
Yeah, maybe even upon drawing the 5-so.
Yeah.
I'm sure Travis is looking for the Itsu at this point, though. And the Pinzu, 8-pin, 9-pin draw, even 6-pin. Will probably not take the Tsumo there.
Yeah, or with a hand that's so hard to get value from at this point, maybe even just K10. Just staying Tempai, maybe gaining 1 to 2,000 points on your competition. You know, dealer getting a repeat doesn't help your chances for first, but it could help you get a more valuable hand to try and go after second or third. That 3-so is a great draw for Henry. Tosses it back though. Is Henry just playing? Was that timeout?
Either timeout or I'm pretty sure that was just a timeout. He spent some time thinking about tiles in strange spots at other places, and I wonder if it's also possible that the internet's flickering in and out.
That 2-so did come out immediately enough that I think internet connection issues aren't out of the question. That 1-mon shouldn't win.
Yeah, just the Tanya.
It is a winning tile, but and actually the 147 in general is pretty held up. I mean, when we see 3 of the 4-mon, we see 3 of the 7-mon, and then the 1-mon, of course, is dead, but also doesn't win. Oh, but no, that 4-mon doesn't fit into the hand.
Unless you're hoping to draw towards the door again.
Okay. And does at this point make the switch. Oh, but that 7-mon's going to deal in first. And it's not going to be a big enough hand to change anybody's placements, actually.
No, that will leave everything as they are. At least Travis will feel fortunate to not have lost an extra 2,000 points. Barb was hoping to hit the dealer directly for the placement exchange, but you know what? Second place at 11.4 is pretty decent as well. Barb will
how do you feel about passing that, Ron?
It's interesting. The gap was what, 3,600 points? So Tanya Tsumo isn't enough to overtake. I think
One Ricci stick would make a Ron off of anybody enough, though.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And you know, both of the third and fourth place players are incentivized to slam a Ricci there. But as you noted, the tiles were actually a lot less live than you'd expect for the three-sided weight. And so perhaps just taking it was a good play. As is, I think Barb is in a pretty good spot after that win, picking up 11 points just outside the promotion zone. And so I think that's a totally fine move. Of course, there will be 3 more games to play in this division, or rather in this series. So plenty of opportunity to earn even more in the future.
Now, for clarification, because we had talked about the double promotions in C1, our double promotions are also a thing in B3 as well, correct?
That is correct. B3 is the highest division in which double promotions occur, and we can see right now no players hitting that mark just yet. Carl very close, but
And no one else is close at all, notably.
yeah, really, really contentious here in the B3 division.
I mean, B3 has 28 people in it. So we have 28 over 44. I'm not going to do math. No one likes math.
Over half the
but
division in the positives.
yeah, well over 16 of the 28. And I was kind of thinking back to the C1 situation we were talking about earlier. Like, there's 16 more people, but the amount of variance that those 16 people added is kind of fascinating, at least to me, but might not be fascinating to everyone.
In the end, though, we will have another game opening from this table, presumably soon. But they are taking a little bit of a break for now. And I think the C1 series that we started with also played another game. I'm going to take a peek at the game results to see what happened there.
Yeah, we actually have wow. A bunch of games started all at the same time in all of the different divisions. A1 table that you had talked about, this table that we just watched, and the table earlier from C1 with Eric, Ty, Andrew, and Brian also started a game. All 3 of those tables all started at the same time.
Very good. So we'll have a lot of action to look forward to in a few minutes. By the way, that the third game of that Brian, Eric, Ty, Andrew series was very exciting. There were 2 Baimon hands, 1 dealer Baimon hand. Get this: Reach, Ipats, Chitoi, Honroto, Uratu.
Honroto?
Honroto, the second Honroto of that series.
Uratu.
Uratu.
Wait, hold on. That's Chitoi Honroto. That is wild.
That's a value play. And then in all last, Andrew won a Baimon. He had dealt into the 24,000 point Chitoi, but won the Baimon all last Richitsumo Ipeiko Chinitsu to escape 4th place. Collecting 60
Close Chinitsu if it hadn't Ipeiko in it, obviously.
Right? So some wild stuff happening in that game. Eric came out with the 1st place, Ty with the 2nd place. Despite not winning any of the Baimons, Ty pulling out 17 points. And so I'm sure that 4th game will be just as exciting. But to cast the next game of the series, I guess we have to decide whether we're going to stick here with B3 or swap to A1. I know I'm a big fan of giving a table a full game of things.
Yeah, since we only caught the latter half of this game here, I do think it would be nice to stick with the table that we just watched.
All right, so we're going to continue with Henry, Travis, Barb, and Mark for game number 2. And to hop in the commentary is a Carter. Welcome.
Hello. How's everyone doing?
Enjoying the Mahjong. We just finished watching you play. You had a fantastic game. Over 70,000 points, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the 4th game of that session. I had 3 first place that session. So it was a good change of pace from last weekend where I got 30th in the Chicago WR World Ricci League. So
yeah, and that was a very fun event. I was there. We were at the same. Well, we didn't play each other, but
yeah,
it was nice
I was
kind of
sad about that, but yeah.
And instead, we're meeting here in the commentary booth. It's just fantastic. And of course, I think there are only about a couple minutes to go for the next series. So, Tucker, I guess you and Carter can take it away. I'll leave things to you. Although, Tucker, I do have to ask you before I head out, did you
Yeah,
play in that World Ricci League event this past weekend?
I did not. I did not. I just started coaching tennis for the high school that I teach at,
Oh,
and boy howdy, did that add a lot more to my plate that I wasn't expecting. It's a stroke of luck that I've been able to commentate it all.
Mhm.
It's gonna be real rough. I don't know if I'm gonna participate in any like big mahjong anything, perhaps until the DC Open.
gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, DC Open will be a big one. Carter, are you going to the DC Open? Do you have plans?
Oh, I don't think I can afford to go. I'm a college student, so I was thinking about it, but I am planning. I'm going to Ireland for the summer for an internship, so I might try and catch
Ooh.
some tournaments in Europe.
Oh,
But
very cool. I
yeah.
know that the tournament scene in Ireland has been picking up over the past few years, and they have some very strong players now. So
Mhm.
hopefully you get to play some Ricci there.
Yeah, I should
I'm
be in
just
Dublin.
imagining playing mahjong with like a huge pint of beer in hand.
Yeah,
I
that'd
say a
be.
huge pint. Pints are one size. Like you
Mhm.
can't have a big or a small pint. A pint is just a pint, but
Yeah, pint is pretty big. It's like 1.5 of a regular drink. So big glass of Guinness, playing some Ricci. It sounds like a pretty good Saturday afternoon.
dark beer and dark emotions at the mahjong table. That sounds like the perfect
Yeah.
pairing.
Yep. All right. Well, this is my first time commentating, and I do watch a lot of commentary in Japanese on Mahjong, but not done so much in English. So I've learned like a bit of commentary skill from like Naoya, but we'll see how well I'm able to translate things.
Yeah. Well, I apologize that your first time commentating is going to be with me because I am a wild card. We are right
Mhm.
into our first hand though. We started off with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We started off with 8 distinct terminals and honors as dealer, which never
That's
makes you happy. You don't want to see that, but
not
good
at
draws
all.
to start off. Need more good draws for this hand to come together ever. But I don't know, maybe you slide towards 1, 2, 3 Sanshoku, maybe you fill in some of these pinchons, who
You
knows.
might see even a Chanta come out of this with a 1-pin, 1 mon. Cut, not so much anymore with a 3-sided weight.
No, I agree with you. The Chanta could have been nice, but the 5, you're not going to turn down the 3-sided there.
Not at all.
On the right, we have Travis has the really nice shapes.
Very nice. Could be Menton Pin,
Is
potentially an Ipeco either.
is
Yeah,
is
7-pin.
Ishanten already guaranteed bad weight currently? So I'd be
Yeah,
really
Kanchan
interested to
Kanchan.
see if we draw into this the current Nobiton that we have. Oh, even well, but
Could
the
make a
4 pins
headless
are
mount.
pair. Oh, immediately tossed it. Didn't even consider it.
Across the way could be a pure straight chance potential over there. Let me just figure out what the names are.
Yeah, two Shanten for that hand. For any hand in general, and the Itsu is as close as anything else. And then on the left, I think Mark Ishanten? Yes, Mark has a headless
Yeah,
Ishanten. You'd really like to draw either the 2-mon or the 4-mon as your pair so that you can have
avoid that.
Pinfu.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh, but 6
could
mon's not
potential
bad.
Tanyo.
Yeah, that's a nice little shift. And you could even draw 5-mon now that, well, I guess you'd end up with a
Oh,
there's the
there it
4-mon.
is.
Yeet.
There it
As
is. A nice
promised.
Reach Pin Fudora. Sensei Ricci, as they say.
And 5-so, 8-so. The 8-so's only one left in the wall, but we don't see any of the 5-so. So four of those left. Now, Sozu looks in general incredibly expensive.
Dangerous,
So
yes.
you're not gonna no one's gonna be lobbing that out without either a good hand or some
Though the dealer
thought.
pushes 9 so against this Ricci.
Oh, and there's
And
the 8-so.
bit of an aggressive play to try and keep the dealership, and unfortunately does not pay off. And Uda 2,
ends up
unfortunate.
paying for it a little bit. It was Ishanten and could have had some good weights if you draw into the Pinchon first, but unfortunately that's not going to come to pass.
Travis is a beautiful high.
Yeah, this is gorgeous. You have a Dora, you've got Riyaman all over the place. I mean, South is your obvious discard, but you take a while looking at this hand just to like, whoa, like
No one else seems even close to being faster than this.
yeah, Mark could start calling if a tune comes out, but even with calling, that's not gonna bring
no
Mark anywhere
Ramans
close
over
to Travis.
there.
Oh,
Not
there's
even
two
Dora
Dora.
2.
Do you just discard 5 so like already? Just like, all right, well, I'm never getting rid of this Dora. The 7 pin was definitely not as helpful, so
What do we even do with this hand?
Oh god.
Suanko?
Yeah, now we drop 5 so. I mean,
Drop
that
5
5 mon draw was, like you said, that we're kind of headed towards Suanko. If you do draw into the Sananko, say draw 603 pin or 5 mon, I don't think you need to reach. You have Tanyao, Dora 2, Sananko.
Oh my god.
You might as well wait around for the Suanko. You've already got
wait?
12k. Oh, well, that's
Three-sided
right.
weight? Oh, come on.
Just takes
leave the 5. Give us the Suanko Tanki.
Because the Ontonsu there is what
a sumo.
Not sumo. Oh my god. Now, granted, as I said, I wouldn't have reached it, but well, 369 isn't 369.
But you could lose Tanyao.
You could lose Tanyao, but you have Dora 3, so
yeah.
I mean, I feel like we have to reach this though. That's all right. There was, I think Travis might have just been overwhelmed by how good that hand was, especially after the last round. We saw Travis just kept getting unlucky round after round, so hasn't been getting as many good hands this late. So this is definitely some karmic repayment for some of the suffering Travis has had to go through recently. Interesting hand for Mark. 4-pin Nakasuji.
You don't really want to completely fold here, but also 3-mon and 6-mon both deal in, so it's gonna be quite difficult to get anywhere. And just
there's the sumo. So we have Richi, Sumo, Tanyao, Dora 3, Hanuman minimum.
No Uda. Nice 6,000 all. Keep yourself up 24 from the next player.
Would have been at least 8k all had the 5-mon been kept, because we would have had the Apatsumo on the 8-mon, but which would have also had Sananko and Ipatsu.
Oh, the Sananko.
But as it is, this is another decent hand. It's not as pretty as the last one, but you can't get those every round. I would certainly be happy with this high pie. Probably looking towards, if you draw the right tiles, you're hoping for the Pinfu. Could even get an Itsu in Mon if, you're really lucky.
Really lucky.
Which Travis has been so far in the 2 hands this game, I suppose. That 8-pin is certainly a boon. We have a pair of the Souths for Barb. So could call to quicken the pace of this hand. Would be then Tempai waiting 5 so, which is kind of gross.
2. Pull second Dora.
Ooh, for Mark, yes.
For Mark, yes. Although the rest of the hand isn't great with those Kanchan shapes. You definitely want to make some Yamens out of it. The Penchan, or you could just draw it directly.
You could even get rid of the 1 so 2 so right now.
Yeah, that Penchan Kanchan is quite a weak shape for this hand.
And does in fact discard 1 so.
We keep this 1 pin. Let's make that our pair in a nice perfect Ishanten shape for Travis the dealer, and pulls the Kanchan draw immediately, and then Travis's Ipatsu draws the 5 so. Pushes it. That's so unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, there was just so little information. Like, what even to discard? No Ura, at least, so it's only a Mangan.
Only a Mangan.
The Homba, the Homba is the only reason Mark is in first. If there were no Homba, they would be perfectly tied. But as it is, we're going into East 3 Barb's dealership now, and this is another good dealer hand.
Nice. Two Mensu and a pair. Potentially turned into a pretty nice Ishanten. Although
Yeah, you really want to. You'd like to find an upgrade before you get Tenpai. I'm not really a huge fan of any of the Reachies we'd end up with reaching Tenpai here.
Well, this is a Shanten, Kanchan, quite a weak Shanten. That's why we leave the 5, could potentially pull a Dora, turn it into a Ryanmen.
And on the right, we do have a Dora Ryanmen and another Ryanmen besides, so that's also a pretty clunky hand. Now could, dream about 789 Sanshoku, but
Henry Sumo Gidi's the Dora. Besides, this shape is good enough. Potential for a Sanshoku chance, so I see where the decision comes from.
although I feel like I would have liked to see, with the one-so already in discards as well, I feel like I would have liked to see the two-so come out before the 4-pin.
Yeah, I say the
Especially
2 and the
since-
5 are both the same Suji, so they generally can use the same tiles.
Barb preferring the 3-5 Kanchan in pin to the 4-6 Kanchan in Manzu, waiting on Dora. It's always a hard thing to wait on, but obviously more valuable if you get it.
Sometimes they are 3 in the wall, and you can just draw it yourself. Just Sumo.
There's Tenpai.
Let's see if they can get it. There's one left in the wall.
That's all you need to be able to sumo. You only need one. Oh, that's not Tenpai.
Not Tenpai yet. Oh,
It's close though. It's got to be
half
Ishanten.
half Suji for Barb. The Dora.
There's another Dora drawn into Mark's hand.
There goes the Dora. All 4 gone from the wall now. Be quite difficult for Barb to win this hand, unless those second Dora might come out.
Mark definitely at a disadvantage. Having 2 of them, it's going to be hard to make that hand work. We do get the Riichi now from Travis. 3-mon, 6-mon.
Sanshoku does go away, but it's a much better weight than the Dora Kanchan. How many left? 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 left in the wall. 3 versus 0.
And I mean, Manzu. Oh,
there it
is.
Sumo Pinfu Dora. 1 Ura for the Mangan. Very important Ura Dora right there.
Just like that, Travis is in first again.
Barb's dealer turn unfortunately passes. And we have 2 clear front runners and 2 people unfortunately falling behind.
Mark's hand is another great dealer high pie. We've had a lot of these, it seems. The Dora South isn't a Yaku high, but the rest of your hand is efficient enough that you can keep it around for a little while and dream. It looks like Henry's doing some dreaming of their own over there. Calls the 9-mon and has an absolute collection of garbage.
Could, if you get lucky, could turn into a Chanta of some sort, but still, they say Jikanga Kakariso would take a lot of time.
But if you scare people, you might earn yourself that time. So
yeah, if you pawn cute 9-mon and now you've discarded right from the middle, people will be quite afraid of that. Although with this dealer hand, I'm not sure you're able to run away from this.
Oh no. It's
all Jihai Ishan Janshanten.
Yeah, this is
all honors to Shanten.
That's a pretty rough spot to be in. How's the rest of the table doing? I mean, honestly, Travis's hand is better, but also, well, I guess really just could get 1, 2, 3 Sanshoku, but that 1, 2 Pinchan and So is really dragging the hand down right now. It's 2 Shanten over there. And then Barb has a pair of the Chun. Barb's hand is actually pretty nice.
Here comes the Chun with a not pawn.
Oh, didn't take it.
There's no other pair, so it doesn't necessarily improve the speed that much. So just maybe trying to go for value.
Yeah, absolutely. And with a San Minchan and 2 Ryanmen, a Riichi with a good weight has the chance for Uradura could be more valuable than the Chun.
Could also see a Sanshoku with the 3, 4, 5.
And we do love Sanshoku here at the ARML. Ishanten for Mark now.
And Henry still has
Yeah.
not continued his hand at all with this unfortunate shape.
Boom.
Has not been able to
But-
pull anything.
But it has had an effect.
It has
I'm not
had an effect.
entirely sure why Mark called the 8-mon, but Mark discarded the 6-so before discarding the 1-so. Like, there was clear concern about the safety of the 1-so there. Did end up taking it. I'm not sure that that's the play I would have made. I'm not really one for pawning out of sequences like that. There was one other 7-mon gone, so I guess the Ipeco wasn't incredibly likely.
I guess at this late in the game, you're just trying to keep your dealership and take anything we can.
But it didn't make us closer to Tenpai.
True. The 4 pins are also out, so the 1 4-pin chi is not necessarily great either.
Yeah, you don't know that there's 3 1-pin locked up in Henry's hand. You have to assume that Trembles and Honors are being used over there, though. Not as many as perhaps. Not as many. Oh, and there's actually the 1-pin discard.
Kong.
Is this a
And now we
con?
have
It is a
Claws.
con.
Oh my god. Flips 9-so as Dora, which is dead. They're pretty much dead, I guess. There's one
There's
left,
only
but
8 tiles. Oh,
there's
a kata agari, just waiting on the 4-pin. All 1-pins are gone anyway, so there's 1 tile they can win off of.
so there's actually no chance of Atazuke here, which is kind of interesting.
And there's the Ryukyoku Tenpai for Travis.
And at that point, if I'm at the table, I see Henry's not even Tenpai,
No
and I'm
10,
like,
yeah.
why was I even thinking? Why was I worried at all? I shouldn't have paid any attention.
Let's see, 1 Dora for 3 players.
The dealer, notably not one of those players. This is perhaps the worst dealer high pie we've seen this round so far.
Oh, 4 Toy too.
Two away from Cheat Toy. Yeah.
Could go for Cheat Toy. I like, going straight for Cheat Toy. It doesn't see much of anything else.
I actually really like that in this case. I mean, none of these pairs are close to each other. When the pairs are closer together, you can be like, okay, I can make 2 sequences out of this one. I can piece them together like this. I can get Tanya out this way. But with a pair of 9-pin and everything being spread out like this, I actually really like the Chi Toy play.
They also have the 2-5 Suji Toitsu, as pro player Tsuchida Kosho talks about. When you have a pair of the same Suji, could potentially lead to higher chance of Chi Toy. I don't know how true that is, but I've seen it happen.
And the 8-mon is also there, waiting to have all of them. Just collect all of the 258 Suji and Mon.
It's super Suji. And there it is, the Hishan 10. We have Jihai potential.
Oh, getting rid of the North?
The 1 discarded. Likes the 8-mon as well as the... Okay, I guess not.
Oh,
interesting.
All right. Toy it is.
Toy shift. There's some players, I guess, I know some people who really don't like Chi Toy and go for Toy.
If a 5 had come out first, I think I'd be a lot more sympathetic to this. But now we're waiting 558, and we're almost certain to get the 8 before we get either of the 5s, and ending up 5-mon 5-pin is a pretty rough place to be, especially if someone chases us and calls Ricci. Then we have just about as bad of tiles to play defense with as we possibly could have.
3 types of tiles. Quite difficult to defend with a Toy. Oh, Siakon.
Kong.
Does Siakon gets the Tenpai from the Rinchan tile. And
Gets
flips
2
2 Dora.
Notably. And now we have a 5-pin 8-so Tenpai. One of those being held by Henry.
Henry's got 1 on each. So 2 in the wall. 7-so is also 2 in the wall. Very interesting battle. About similar value.
An interesting battle that Travis might win. Oh no, there's the 8-so.
13 all.
Toy only. A fun hand.
Toy
Oh,
to
wow.
toy shift, and now another crazy dealer hype eye.
3 pairs, but 4 Honitsu shapes.
Interesting not to go straight for Formon discard, potentially trying to hide the flush a little bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, you also have double East, so if you draw 5 Mon, you don't have to take the Honitsu here. You could take your double East and just kind of move things along. If you, like you said, there's also the idea of concealing. Although if you're concealing your Honitsu, you would discard 3 pin there, not 4 Mon.
Now the south. Interesting. We have Henry with a Hatsu Anko. And another Mensu as well, with no pair yet. Definitely don't want to make the Hatsu Anko into a pair. And
There's
2
a pair
Dora across the way.
Yeah, for Travis. Travis does have 6 blocks, so one of those pairs will need to go. I kind of imagine you'd start by discarding 9 pin because it's
Dealer
already
now with
dead.
double East.
Just concealed in hand.
Concealed
That's a nice
double
place
East.
to have it.
Pawn could even, I guess not toy, but potentially go for a San Anko if the 6-0 shows up. Hatsu would definitely not, considering that Henry has the other 3.
All right, now we have headless Ishanten for Henry with that 1, 2, 3 chi.
Henry could also see a Manzu Honitsu, depending on their draws.
With Honor Overflow coming out of the dealer hand, discarding the 3-so, 5-so shape feels rough. There's the Hatsu now waiting on it.
Is there any... It's just difficult to see this as dead. So it might be potential for Hatsu to not ever be changed.
Well, here's how you see it as dead. You have a 1, 2, 3 chi on your right. That late 5-so discard, though, you might just think it's Honitsu. The only Yakuhai left for Henry to have is
Hatsu.
Hatsu.
To 2-5. Yeah, there's
the con. Flips 7 Mon as the new Dora. Flips 2 Dora for themselves.
Dora again. Now Mark is very relieved to have cut the green dragon.
Oh, absolutely. But this 2 Mon looks rough.
Also does look great, but with 2 players with 2 and 5 in their discards, it could potentially be dropped. Although that does look pretty scary. Although we can now change to a Toy. It doesn't take it.
But 3-so is safe against Henry. That might have been part of the thought there.
It's also only 2 tiles left. And not that much more value because Manganda Hanuman's only 1.5 instead of a 2 times jump.
That 4-so is... Oh, but the 2-so sumo!
2-so sumo could have had the toy, but Amangan is also quite good, especially in this position where now we're up by... How much is that? 14,000?
Yep, especially because you just stole a Ricci stick from Travis, who had finally gotten to Tenpai with a nice 5-so, 8-so weight, but you can't deal in if you sumo the tile the other person's waiting on. And now another decent hand here for Mark. Could get 6, 7, 8 Sanshoku. Mostly we're just excited that everything is simples and that our blocks are fairly established here.
A nice 5 blocks in our Tanyao. Other hand, we have Haku for Travis as a pair, as well as another 3-so pair. No Mensu. Potentially looking for a Dora. Dora could come out. Potentially Chi.
Henry, that 1 pin's an interesting draw for Henry. Could slide this towards a Junchan if you wanted more value, and you kind of need it at this point, but you can't go fishing too much because you're only 5,000 behind 3rd place. Normally, when you're below 10K, you feel like you got to start doing desperate things, but still really close to 3rd place. So you don't have to get too wild with it.
Mark with the 3-sided weight, including another Dora potential. Very nice Ishanten.
And could get Sanshoku as well. Draw 5 pin and drop... Yeah, draw 5 pin and drop 6 Mon, and
Could even
You'd
Dama
have
that.
2 shots at it.
Eek.
There's
Or
the ace,
just draw
though.
the 5.
Oh,
2, 5,
but
8.
no! Calls Ricci with the 3-mon.
The 3-mon. But if the 3, 4, 5, if the 6-mon is dropped, there is potential with the 5-pin for the Sanshoku, but
So a little loss in potential value there, but Ricci, Tanyao, Pinfu, Dora is nothing to sniff at.
that sumo is Mangan. Another Mangan, but here. Reach Tanya. Just a Mangan anyway.
Yeah, regardless. The Sanshoku, though, would have made it Hanuman.
It pushes the wow.
5, so
Strongly Dora push into a chi. Looking for a Atozuke on the Haku. There's only one left.
I mean, if you push
the
Dora, you
Dora,
push
yeah.
2-pin, right? Like, but what are you? So my question here is, what are you pushing? It's. I wonder if there's a misunderstanding of Suji here. Actually. Oh, we got the 5-pin. But at the very least, is a Mangan. We only need one Ura for the
You
Hanuman.
just hit Urda anyway. It's
There
a
it is,
Hanuman
yeah.
either way.
You know what?
It would have been. I mean,
Mark called Ricci on the 3-mon, knowing that the sumo was going to be 5-pin, and just wanted to be fair. Like,
you can't
dealer
have
buy
too
mon
much
su-
luck.
Right. You just have to you have to spread the wealth around a little
You're
bit.
already
sometimes.
up. You're already up 17K. You can't then win a Baimon as the dealer after that.
Yeah, that's. I mean, everyone will just get so mad at you. These are people you're gonna have to play again in the future. Don't want to burn too many bridges.
Henry
Yep, we
Pons Chun.
9-pin is Dora. There's one in hand. Unfortunately, it's a part of the worst shape.
It's the worst shape. Could want to flip, go straight, cuts the
Just
door
discard it.
immediately. Could maybe trying to shift into a Manzu Hoitsu. The cutting the Ryanmen could slow down the hand quite a bit.
4-pin would have been an interesting discard there, so that you still had 5, 7, 9. So you could keep a 2-sided shape and keep the potential of Dora, but yeah, I don't know. I think that's just a tough place for Henry to be at that point. Yeah, and is doing exactly as you said.
Now the dealer is running straight behind with a very solid stream of sumo, and now is Ishan 10 with Yamen for Tanyao again. Now there is Iman Pon by Henry. Looking for one more Manzu to cut that Forso and go all in on the Honitsu.
That is a really, and there's going to be Tenpai for Mark, and there's the Manzu.
6-mon.
Is it only 4-7? It's got to be. We can see all the Mon tiles, and none of the rest of them are red.
Yeah, 4-7, definitely not 1. You can't.
Yeah, it's just an Arianmen. Kind of a clunky Arianmen.
Although when you see a lot of those tiles nearby, you can, and there's the wall, you might be able to figure out that there are a lot in the wall, and there it comes out. A nice 39, tries to get back into the fight, actually gets into 3rd place.
Well, I mean, there was the 39 plus 4 Homba and a Ricci stick.
Now, South pair for Henry as dealer.
In the South round, so is now useful to have that.
A second pair makes the South a lot easier to pawn. Not too much value otherwise. It might look to just try and get a fast hand.
The Dora can be pretty easily accepted, though, so there is hope for this hand.
Now, South pawn would be a Tenpai. We see another Chun pawn into Man's Honitsu shape. Although, with the same 4-5 Yamen, there's a little bit of deja vu from the last hand.
It'll be interesting to see if Travis holds that.
This time when Manzu is the Dora, we could also just see a pure straight with the Manzu and the rest leaving that 4-5 Yanmen, because could be a bit too slow. We see it just depends. You leave that up to the Tsumo.
Ryanman, Ishanten now for Travis, if Travis chooses to accept Chun Nomi. Or potentially Chundora 1.
Kyuso not
What would
take
you-
the Anko.
What would you have discarded if you were Mark there?
Could be potentially difficult, although 8-so is already 2 out, and so I think 7-so isn't doing too much for the hand, and you could end up cutting from the Anko and make it your pair anyway, so I would probably go 7-so there.
Yeah, I agree. That was also my read. And then we now have 1 mon, 4 mon wait for Henry.
Although, proves us wrong, draws the 7-so and able to shift to Tanyao. Another Manzu draw, this could be we decide to go for here.
You have to leave Tenpai, though, and does not want to do that. Or no, it isn't in Tenpai.
Not in Tenpai. The 1-4 is dealers winning tiles with their non-Nomi. Just 1 Han, 1,500 points. And there it is, the Sumo, 500 on. And enough to keep Henry as the dealer for the next hand.
Yeah, you definitely accept those. This 2 mon makes the worst shape in your hand a little bit better. Now you only have 3 blocks, so maybe your worst shape is actually like the floating non or something, but I don't want to get too technical about it. We do have one of the Dora 9-so. In this interesting
3 mon is an interesting draw.
It is. Since we had the pair of 4 mon to go along with the 1/2/2, that's could get Ipeco. If we drew another 1 mon, we'd probably be pretty like sad. But it looks like Henry's hand just kind of coming together on its own. Travis's hand seems okay. Pinfu is kind of the best Travis's hand could really get to. Possible Itsu for Barb in the Mon. And that's where
wind pairs.
For Mark, yeah, with the Shah and the Pei. There's the Shah.
Is guest wind. Ooh, difficult to pawn from that.
Yeah, it doesn't take it, which seems reasonable. Because once you pawn the Shah, you're kind of calling 7-pin a pair at that point, and the 6-7-7 is your strongest shape. So calling the Shah in a weird way gets rid of the strongest shape in your hand.
And there's only 1 pay left, so you could end up in a pretty difficult position, even if you Tenpai for it. Decides not to leave the 5-so with the pair. Looking for that 5-6-7 Sancho could chance, potentially, leaving the 7-pin.
Yeah, it's still 2 Shanten. This hand really looks like it should be E Shanten, but it's not. Could call that, but then you'd have to deal with this 1 pin somehow. Draws the 6 mon. You now have a pair, so now we are E Shanten. Could get Ipeco. Headless Ishanten for Barb. Yep.
Headless from Anko means that is a good potential for good shape. Pay pawn. Ishanten as well for Mark.
With Mark opening up, if 4 mon comes out of Travis's hand, do you cheat it as Barb?
4 mon comes out. Is that Tenpai?
Yeah, 2 mon, 5 mon Tenpai for Mark. Just drew it a Tenpai right there. I'm a little curious about Barb's 2-so discard though. I don't fully understand why we discarded that. The 2 mon, 5 mon's actually pretty dead. And by pretty dead, I mean there's only 1 tile left in the wall. Well, okay, I guess you just knew you were going to draw the 6-8. Well, now we have 4 mon, 7 mon wait for Barb. Riichi Pinfu, possible Itsu.
Yeah, the 2-4 drop turned it into a 7-8 Ryanmen wait with the other 2 7s as a pair, allowing the Dora to come in, or the 6-so. So now does Mark push this Dora with
the 8 yet? Or was it just the 6? I don't.
You draw the 8 and dropped the 2.
The 8 was first. Yeah, the 6 came later. Yep. Yeah. This 7-mon's hard to deal with, and just shoves it.
Shoves it.
We've seen a lot of that, I feel like.
Cheaper and Ura-san.
The Ura 3, a very unlikely Ura 3. But Ura 3 nonetheless, and
Ura-san.
kind of catastrophic for Henry there.
We've seen a lot of Uras hitting this Hanchan, leading to a lot of high value hands.
Which is how you get to a 70.9 first versus a negative 100 last.
In no reds, Akanashi.
Right, absolutely. Very rare. Although, just like before, we had, I believe, in your game, someone above 70K and also a second place above 30K, which is very rare. But it's happening again.
Yeah, pretty much like every hand that game was a Mangan or above.
Travis with pretty decent shapes here.
Makes a diamond.
Actually has 6 blocks now. Could discard 1-mon, go for the Tanyao. Henry perhaps needed to step away from the table for a second after that deal in.
That's tough. Tough turn of events.
Each.
Fast Ricci. Already
With
two Doras and Ipeiko and a 2-sided weight.
Possibly Peiko if we get the 5-so.
2, 3, 4, 3 left in the wall, which is a bit low for Diamen this early on.
Oh yeah, you definitely expect more, and there's one of them.
And the Ipeiko looks quite unlikely. Only one tile left of 5-so.
And there's the last 5-so. Travis has
pushes it.
Yep, there it is. A lot of pushiness from this table. Oh, and the Ura.
And the Ura again.
Now, Travis still barely holding on to second, but I mean, that 24,000 point swing is absolutely what Barb needed. And now Barb has the dealership and an okay hand here. It's not a lot of cruft left in it after the first 3 cards. Ooh, and it's actually just going to speed it along. Just get this Tanyao going.
Tanyao going, trying to pass Travis and get to second, as well as both of these players are looking to get above 30K in order to get their second place become positive. Although with this Tanyao, potential doesn't look like it will get there from just this hand.
Although now, if you're Travis, you have an interesting dilemma here. Like, at this point, it should be obvious that Henry's gone from the table. Henry's left, and that really makes you wonder when you are to the right of someone who has left the table, whether that incentivizes you to just start calling open hands. If you can get 2 open hands, only one of them needs to have a little bit of value for you to get above that 30K. Like, it might be worth, being slightly less efficient when the person to your left is going to discard absolutely anything you would need.
Yeah, it also incentivizes Ricci because you have someone who's basically not defending you at all. And interestingly, unfortunately, Henry has left the table. Looks like he would have had Dora 3 had he not sumo giri'd all of their tiles.
And an Anko of Chun. I mean, it just goes to show, like, you shouldn't give up. Like, you can always come back from anything in Mahjong, but sometimes you get so in your head that you become your own obstacle more than even the points. Now we have 6-pin, 9-pin. The weight for Barb. This is Atazuke. Only the 6-pin will win.
The kata agari.
Each.
On one side. The 9-pin comes for Mark, which is a Ricci not Pinfu, just Ricci Nomi, it looks like. But a good 2-sided weight.
Yeah, and that's
pushing again because the player Henry is basically discarding whatever he draws. So even this late in the game, you could still end up taking points.
Right, absolutely. And on top of that, you couldn't win the hand otherwise. And since with you as last dealer, ending South 3 gives you a lot of power to keep everyone else below 30k. And there's the 5
And
mon.
that's why you reachy that.
And Barb actually going to be the biggest winner here because that puts Barb into second. And you know that Mark, unless Mark has, some great, really efficient hand, which Mark actually might. This is a pretty...
Might, especially with Henry on their left. But Barb could have Hatsu here, in an interesting dilemma of whether you push for value to try to get above 30, or do you just go for the fast hand and guarantee your second place?
I mean, I feel like you make that decision based on how much value it looks like your hand has. And this hand, at best, seems like 2 Han right now. Maybe 3 if we get lucky and draw another Yakuhai or draw into a Dora pair. But otherwise, this hand doesn't really feel like Mongon material. Now, there's still a lot of dragons left as far as Barb can see, so might be holding out for little dragons. But now that you see 2 Haku discarded, I feel like you commit to, all right, oh, well, I don't know.
Well,
you have the pair of Haku now.
You have the pair of Haku. 2
I don't
Anko.
But the Haku's dead, and your other pair is the 5 mon. Like, I feel like you kind of... Yeah, there we go. There's the Chun discard. Unfortunately, helps Mark. Unfortunately for Barb, helps Mark out. Mark now Ishanten.
Mark with so much cushion that you can kind of just go for however many points he wants to at this point.
Reachy from Travis, which is actually interesting. I don't know that I would have reached that. Reachy is, of course, the only way to possibly get above 30k. Hit Ura, Sumo, get yourself a Mongon.
Ipatsu, something like that.
But if you stay Dama, it feels almost like there's no way you don't take second. It's a negative second, but it's still second. That 10 Uma makes a difference. And no, it would be 10, I guess, if you... But as you know, Ipatsu also more likely with someone just discarding anything. Doesn't hit the Ura, but still, that's going to be second for Travis, which was, of course, the goal there.
Plus 62 points for Mark.
An absolutely incredible win. That's going to put Mark also in contention for a double promotion. Still a little less than 30 away, but in a very, very good spot. Would have to lose half of his points at this point to drop out of promotion. Travis with the negative second.
Keeps out of there with basically a wash, able to kind of remain in about the same position.
Barb with the minus 10.6. Also, I mean, it's still right in contention for promotion. And as we were saying earlier, in these lower divisions relative to the number of total divisions in the ARML, like there's you get some overflow. So 9th place could possibly end up promoting when it's all said and done at the end of the season. So Barb in a very good spot overall.
Henry, unfortunately, continuing to fall below the relegation line. Potentially that could have influenced his decision to leave early. Sometimes you just tiles don't go your way.
Yeah, I've definitely been there several times. I feel Henry's pain there, and I don't know. I feel like it takes a lot of years of mahjong or just a very laissez-faire mind to learn how to handle that tilt. Like it's a lot to deal with. And everybody in mahjong knows it. So I do think there's sympathy there for it. We do have an A1 table starting in about 2 minutes. About a minute now. I believe that is where we are going next. So
interesting. The top division.
Top division. These are okay.
We have
the number of games played. Looking at these current standings, I have never seen a more sporadic number of games played. 19, 16, 20, 19, 14, 16, 19,
12.
17. What is this? What is happening? Oh, it's bugged? Okay, that makes way more sense.
Doesn't really make sense that someone would be playing half their games at this late in the season.
especially at minus 67. If they were at minus 200, then it's like, oh, something happened in their life and they were forced to miss a couple and they took like
A
a
penalty.
not show penalty. Like that
Yeah.
happens, like life happens, there's not much you could do about it when it does. But I think the magical wizard behind the curtain told us it was probably because of bugs.
Mm-hmm.
The mosquitoes got into Tenho and messed up all of the systems. I would like to point out 0 lasts for Steve.
0 lasts for Steve. Wow.
At least on record.
Mm-hmm. 0 lasts that are being shown at least.
All right, and we're starting. Lucas is our first dealer. Recently got 9 Don.
9 Don. Wow.
So,
yeah.
I
Very
mean,
strong player.
Right,
and
the rank up from 8 Don to 9 Don, I think took like less than a month. I don't know exactly how long it was, but I remember someone posted the graph in the ARML Discord, and you could tell that the promotion was almost instantaneous, it seemed. But a lot of these hands just look better. Like whenever we sit in A1, whenever we go from like B3 to A1, I think sometimes the Mahjong gods just like to reward people who have played a long time and put a lot of work in, because it's like these high pies just seem better sometimes. Maybe it's because of efficiency. I don't know. I tell myself that they're just lucky. That's why they're so good. Lucas is 9 Don because he's lucky, not because he's great. I kid, obviously. I love all these players.
Yeah, I get a similar feeling sometimes when playing really strong players, and then they just keep sumoing like ridiculously high scoring hands. Are like, how do you keep getting these tiles?
All right, but now that we're through the first row, we maybe should talk about the hands. Lucas does have a pair of Hatsu. No Hatsu have come out. Interestingly, Blake has been holding one for a while. Now
after connecting to the Dora for Youngman.
All right, and then we see the 3-pin. I think it's really interesting the way Lucas looked at the floating tiles there. We had floating 8-mon, floating 3-pin, and floating 5-so. The 3-pin, of course, overlapped the 5-6 Ryanman. 5-so is wide open, but the 8-mon has the advantage of being next to the 7-mon Dora, which we see one of currently in Jonathan's hand across the table with all of those Monzu and all of those 5-mon. Not a Chinitsu hand, but still an interesting one.
Very strong looking hand, but we have Lucas already in Tenpai.
Double Suji Shanpon doesn't take it, decides to stick to the 4 out 7-so instead of the 3 out 2-so. Oh wait,
there's 3 left in the wall, but there are only, and Lucas can see all 4 7s available.
Is Jonathan Ishanten? Surely, right? Yes, Jonathan is Ishanten. Whenever there's 4 of one number in a hand, it always like makes me go cross-eyed. But Ishanten for Tanyao Dora 1. Oh, and there's the sumo.
I was about to say Dustin had a Dora pair, but it doesn't matter. Oh, wow.
This is what we're talking about. This is the good player conspiracy being shown.
Haku Anko. The only thing missing is a couple of Doras.
Has 2 3-so, so the Dora are bound to come. Although a couple
Dustin
of those
has 2 already.
Dustin has 2. It's because they're next to the 3-so. If the Dora's anywhere near 3-so, Dustin's gonna end up having all of them. But the rest of the hand pretty clunky. Does have a pair of the tone, so could call to speed it up, but a lot of kind of unfortunate shapes in Dustin's hand despite that Dora pair.
2 Kanchan or Ryankan Kanchan Ishanten. No, it's just 2 Kanchans. 4-pin, 7-pin does get Tenpai. The East Pawn. There's the 4-pin. Sometimes you just have those very poor shapes for Ishanten. You might just draw it.
Is really thinking about calling Ricci there. It feels like there's so many upgrade tiles. This 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 shape can be upgraded so many ways.
And you already have
2-pin, 4-pin, 5-pin. Yeah. So staying Dama on this doesn't feel bad at all.
Actually, it's very early on. You'd like to Ricci a bit of a better weight.
There was a hesitation, so it wasn't like an instant Ricci situation. Blake's hand could end up with 7-8-9 Sanshoku, but that's gonna be difficult. No pair set in hand. We have kind of too many blocks in a way. Ugh, the 8-so doesn't help, I don't think. Yeah, it just tosses it right back.
Help Jonathan. Also Ishan 10 with a Kanchan, but also a Champon potential.
I think Dustin tossed the 4-pin there, in part to set up a Suji trap on 7-pin, and also because Pinsu are going to end up looking incredibly dangerous against Lucas.
They are looking very expensive in general, so potentially not a great thing to draw.
4-pin, 6-pin drop makes 7-pin look even better as a final weight.
Dong.
But it already deals in just one Han. But what point would you consider reaching that hand after not upgrading it?
Yeah, I mean, if I've decided not to reach it and I'm waiting for an upgrade, I'm never going to call Ricci unless something drastic changes. Like, if Dustin ends up 3 calls out, then I might call Ricci because Dustin has no ability to play defense. Or if someone calls Khan, obviously, and more chances at Ura, then I might take the Ricci. But if I have found that if I made a decision early on in a hand, even if I'm not 100% sure in that decision, you hurt yourself a lot by doubting yourself.
Oh, the Washizu Khan.
Yeah, that's Dustin.
Motonori.
That's
Khan's
Dustin.
Forodora. Don't even get surprised by that. That's just normal.
If you hadn't mentioned it, I probably wouldn't have even commented. Like, Dustin called Khan and flipped himself Dora. Of course he did. That's how life goes for Dustin.
And now
and
two
look,
Yakuhai.
now he has 2 Yakuhai. You can't even be Anazuke. This is Dustin's life. There's no one in the world I have argued more about with Mahjong, and I disagree more about on Mahjong than Dustin. I still love watching him play though. Because
Haku still hasn't come out, Jonathan. And Lucas was looking like a pretty solid hand. Could potentially beat this Dora 4. Well, with that draw, maybe not so much.
a slightly better Ishan 10 for Dustin now, of course. Yeah, doesn't keep the 3-pin. I guess if we draw 5-so, we're gonna drop 1-mon. I think that's probably what's
It only
bumping
gives you
around in Lucas's head.
With 3-pin 1 gone, there's only one more tile of acceptance by keeping the 3-pin.
So it doesn't even help that much. It's a good point. Oh, there's the East.
There's the East.
1-so, 4-so, Tenpai.
With 5 left in the wall, there's only a matter of time for Tsumo.
6-so is the efficient cut here. Yeah, it doesn't do it. I was like, I don't know if I'd be cutting 6-so into this because Dustin obviously doesn't have Honitsu.
It takes the pawn.
Oh my fucking god! This is waiting on 3-so, waiting on Sanso. Like,
waiting for
this
the
is
3-so.
the most Dustin ass hand I have ever seen. This hand could not be more Dustin. He ditched the 3-so wait. What?
Q-so.
I can't believe this. Dustin, there's no way Dustin wins this hand. Dustin's done. Dustin is cooked. I've never seen Dustin abandon 3-so so immediately. That is absolutely bonkers.
The only thing that might happen is Dustin could pull the 4-mon Dora and make a Nobetan out of it. Make a 4-mon. Yeah, the 1-mon is floating. It's Hellweight.
Oh god.
Hellweight, Lucas.
And it's set to come out of Lucas's hand.
Catches the pair drop with the Dora.
Oh god, and there's the other Dora.
Could be it. Not yet.
The 4-so is 100% safe.
Could be a fold.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what that is.
They might not even drop 1-mon at this point.
Might not drop 1-mon, might not drop pay.
Switches the 4-pin. How many times
3-so is safe. Oh, okay, just switch.
Switches.
This is what's going to happen. And Dustin is going to come into chat somewhere later saying, I abandoned 3-so and that's why I didn't win. You can put your money on it.
Well, we can see from here 3-so is 1 left in the wall. And
sumo.
Oh
Sumo.
God! Can't believe he won this hand. I'm so
Oh
angry.
my
God, Dustin. He switched so many
Switch
times.
Tonki. Always choose the right Tonki.
Dustin immediately comments, "Get out of here, Dustin. You're playing a game."
Now Blake, the dealer, currently the leader, according to the standings, assuming they are not bugged at all.
It's gonna be a fun season for A1, where it's just like you have to guess where you end up.
Mm-hmm.
This is a great hand for Blake. So it looks like currently Blake is number one, only by 0.8 points. So that part is correct between Blake and Matthew, it looks like. For everyone else at this table, Lucas is right in the middle, or I guess not right in the middle. At minus 32.7, kind of fighting to not fall into demotion.
Blake's
Wait, are we
hand
sure
is
these don't
looking.
match? Okay, yeah, there's only a couple that are incorrect in the standings. I need to stop thinking about that. Otherwise, that's all I'll think about for forever.
Yeah.
The one Pandora not helping out anybody.
Blake with Kanzen Ishan. Perfect Ishanten shape for Tanyao.
Ooh, is that the fancy name for perfect Ishanten?
Well, Kanzen Ishanten is just the Japanese name. Kanzen means perfect. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is that a term that is also used in the Japanese?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, most of the English ones are kind of translated directly, I think.
You never know when an English-speaking person has just made up some garbage.
True. There's also Ishanten for Lucas. That's also a perfect Ishanten.
Also
shape, not
perfect
Tenpai.
Ishanten. Yeah, there it is.
For the Forso, Forso
is
is a bit
gone.
Is floating out of Blake's hand a little bit, depending on what he draws.
Yeah, it would be very easy for Blake to deal in here. Oh, that one is going to come out of Dustin first, though.
Just one Han.
That was the first of many deal-ins this game for Dustin because he didn't wait on 3-set when he had the chance. Okay, this high pie, maybe there is justice in the world. This is a good player in A1, and they have 2 Kanchan and 2 Pinchan. Maybe I was hasty to say that good players always get good high pies.
Well, they have Dora Yanmen already.
Oh, well, I take it back. The system's rigged. We shouldn't play Mahjong anymore. Dustin with a really good hand sitting on the right here. The right Arianman in Pinzu, 3-sided weight in Manzu, and then another Rianman in the Sozu. A lot can go.
Also accepting Dora potentially as well.
Oh yeah, that Forso would be a very welcome addition to the hand. Lucas's hand, not great. Blake already called the Haku. Also not good shapes. Opening was the only way Blake was ever going to catch up in this round for sure.
I'm just looking for a fast hand to try and pass the dealer of the next player up.
Jonathan with a good filling in the Ryankon there.
Fourth Haku, no con.
I would have really liked to seen whether Blake would have conned that or
Feels
not.
the Kanchan.
That would have been true almost no matter what Blake drew. There's so many Kanchan in that hand. Is Ishanten now and can Pon for a Tenpai, which is always nice.
Pawn 10.
Dustin headless Ishanten now, sort of headless Ishanten. If you draw 9-pin, I guess 6-pin can function as a pair.
Becomes an Adyamen weight, which is Not the best, but it's better than a Kanchan.
I think Dustin has approximately 90 tiles to Tenpai. I haven't counted one by one, but I think it's approximately 90. The 9-mon is not one of them.
Yeah,
6-pin is a good draw for.
This is like shows up on the pro exam of what tiles to Tenpai.
It's like, okay, 1-mon, 2-mon, 3-mon, 5-mon, 6-mon.
1 through 6, or 1 through 7 even.
For 4-pin Tenpai, they are all held. 4-pin on a lot of the good weights for Dustin would be the discard. Changing to the Shanpon, 3 pins, 7-mon.
There's 3 in the wall for that, so a good swap. We've got
Dustin immediately gets rid of the 4-pin, which could become dangerous to dealer right now.
Just barely made it on time. Both players, the 4-pin drop.
Dustin is going to drive me mental this game. The 4-pin, 1 turn earlier, would have dealt into Blake. 1 turn later would have dealt into dealer. How does the timing work out there? How? Like, what is going on with Dustin right now?
And now
the 8, so that's not Tenpai.
Not Tenpai, just 2 3-sided weights. Doesn't take it. 7-pin would deal in if they tried to make the 6-pin the pair. Lucas.
There's the 7-mon.
Folding. There's the 7-mon.
Dumb.
And yeah, that deals in. It's not very valuable though. Just 1K. Doesn't even change positions.
Not enough to change the swap, but makes that fight a lot closer for third. Now comes Dustin's dealer with 2 Mensu and 2 Diamen. And a Dora. One of them in Dora. Very wow.
Oh, this hand. I'm disgusted. You're not, as a commentator, you're never supposed to cheer against anybody. Dustin, I think, is the only player I would ever cheer against. And it's only because I actually do really like Dustin. I don't want it to seem like I actually do hate him. A pair of Chun for Lucas.
Chun pair 2 in the wall.
Ooh, an upgrade to the Kanchan to a Ryanman.
Ryanman.
Now here's a question. Here's a question for you, Carter. When you see the early 7-pin, like you had 2-pin as the first drop, early 2-pin, early 7-pin.
Oh yeah.
Are you reading that as a 4-5 in hand somewhere, or are you just like not paying attention to it?
I don't like most of the time able to pay enough attention to this, but I did watch one video of Oi Takaharu when he talked about that specific pattern. It's like textbook Ida Yonken, where cutting both of these makes, as from your hand, it makes 3-6 look really bad. So I think I would probably consider 3-6 as a potential for a weight that Lucas has. But
there's also the case. Oh, there's Tenpai for Dustin. Naturally,
that's the case where it could just be nothing because of how early on it is. But with 2 pawns, it seems like the hand is kind of fast, and it could already be Tenpai. So
and there's perfect Ishan 10 for Lucas.
Though they didn't chi the 3-pin, so the first time.
Don't.
Unfortunately, now that goes in. Not Ipatsu, but our 58. It's
drew the deal in tile in the Ipatsu round, but did not deal in the Ipatsu round. And Dustin with another kind of wacky hand here. I don't know if this
Dora
is a good hand per se.
Almost not Dora 2. 4 pairs though.
Dora Indicator 2.
Yes, which not
should
good
be a thing
for this.
This is, oh my god, this is textbook, this is Flowbook 1. Dustin has found the textbook Flowbook 1 play. Pair of 2 pairs of terminals and a single of the other terminal. You call the terminal the first time it comes out, the 1-so there, expecting the 1-pin to flow into hand. Dustin is the only person I've ever met who believes in the Flowbook, and this is a textbook Flowbook play. Could just end up straight toy here. 1-pin would be the natural discard.
There is only one. It does not hold the 1-pin. Unfortunately, 1-pins are being used in 2 other players' hands, so Doko is pretty unlikely here.
Oh man!
But
Just the
also
fact-
has double Ton, double East, and Toy Toy.
You have double tone. Why not discard the 1 pin? Why discard 5-3 so? Why force the toy like this? Just like let your hand be efficient, take a 2-hand, you're already in the lead.
Yeah,
Ugh.
with a win rate of 27%. Potentially. Things seem to be working out.
No, they do. Alright, who is going to stop Dustin's hand?
Blake
have
has
3
Peiko already finished
Ooh.
and South pair. Looking for a nice Pinfu.
That's 2 Dora.
Dora
You'd be
2
more than
as well.
happy to, yeah. You'd be-
Peiko Dora 2. Two-sided way. Could Sanshoku?
Jesus.
I want to see that hand finished. Wow.
Sanshoku Ipeko is like my favorite hand combination. Just like there's this kind of beautiful pair. Oh, it's actually Chitoi Shanten now.
And Shitoi Shan, yes.
2 Shanten for all that other garbage. 1 Shanten for Chitoi.
Oh, I've used Ishanten already for a Pinfu.
Oh no,
There it
you're
is.
right. You're right. There it is. Yeah.
Well, we could see. If only the Onso was still on the wall, we could have seen a Chunkan. But Onso is unfortunately not coming to Dustin.
So Richi, Peiko, Dora 2, possible Sanshoku.
2 left in the wall, which means it will be Sanshoku if Blake is able to win.
Unless
Onso
Jonathan
is
ditches
gone.
the Onso for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Unlikely. Very, very unlikely, but not impossible. Now, this is the nice thing about the Toy hand that Dustin had created. Very easy to fold with. We have the 1 pin, the pair of
There's
East.
the one. There's the one.
Oh my god.
Other 1 pins are gone, so.
But 6-mon... I don't like the 6-mon discard. 5's so safe. You'd have... you would have to either shove 2 Easts or shove 2 6-mon.
Oh.
Shoving 2 Easts isn't the worst.
Oh my, the 1 pin with
it's the worst, though.
deals in. Sanshoku. Decides to push the 4, so.
Nathaniel very excitedly in the background said 234 Sanshoku beats Flowbook, which I think is my favorite quote ever. And that is enough for Blake to take first place. This is going into South
Blake,
1. This
look
is
at
very
Blake's
close
hand.
across the board. Yeah.
Look at Blake's pawn. Ron.
Right. And that tune is just
floating.
chilling. Yep.
Would you cut tune now? Like, if you are trying to get it out of your hand, you have to cut it now. Because now it's a deal in tile.
Yep. There was that tempo. I wonder though if Lucas to some point is Lucas thinking about choking Blake here? Yeah. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You can't choke somebody who does pon sumo on turn 5.
Pon draws the Ranmen Tenpai and then sumo. Now we see a very abrupt shift into the scoring position where Dustin has been passed up by Blake to get first. Blake also with dealer, potentially looking at a pure straight with a Dora Penchon. Dustin with East Pawn, or Green Dragon Pawn, sorry.
Oh, that 3-mon fill is fantastic. You still don't have a pair though, and you really expect your pair to probably come from the Sozu?
Should end up looking for a Dora Tonki weight. Interestingly enough. The Haku pair for Lucas. The only pair, so, and the rest of the hand, you've got 1 Mensun and a Yanmen. Not sure if this is a pawn. There's your pair. That won't make Pinfu. And Tenpai for Jonathan with 2 5-pin Richi Pinfu.
A Tenpai and the pawn, the Hatsu pawn, I think was in the middle of it. But the pawn shows the Tenpai was achieved from discarding an Anko from hand. That's what it looks like. One pin, Tenpai.
Dustin with Dora too.
This is the most unhinged A1 game I think I've seen. It's just everything looks crazy for some reason. There's the sumo. Not Ipatsu because Dustin called.
Not Ipatsu, but a nice fast win because there were 2 potentially dangerous hands, the dealer and Dustin's Dora 2, avoiding all of that.
And then a rewarded very next hand, pair of the Dora East.
Dora East is now 3 Toitsu. Dora East as the dealer in South Round is kind of the best scenario to have that pair.
It doesn't get better than that. I was about to say, Blake's going to discard it right now. Didn't call,
Didn't
what?
Pawn. Hold on. That's got to be a misclick.
Or had just
had
automatically
no
call on, yeah.
Yeah, because this hand isn't really anything, not fast enough to be able to just like keep it as a pair and go for Ricci. You can already pawn, so we have.
Yeah, I imagine there was like a no call, or like you have right click to pass on or something, and like you misclicked. Like that's. I think it would be. I think the pawn there is pretty standard. I don't know, unless there could be other thoughts.
Yeah,
oh yeah, Jonathan confirmed misclick. Is okay? Quick
Is
pause.
everyone watching?
Is everyone watching? Like
everyone
what?
watching.
I as a rule, if my game is being broadcast, I like actively make sure I do not have it on. Like I don't want the distraction. I don't want to hear people talking about my hands. There's something feels kind of weird to me about it. The fact that Blake, Dustin, and Jonathan all have commented is wild to me. Love them. They're all great. Love them all. It's just very funny. There's the 1, 2, 3 Chi. This is kind of looking like a Honitsu.
There's no Yaku.
The East is the Yaku. It's gonna come out again.
Although with like Chi potential, like once it's even way easier to stop on the East now that you've opened your hand with 1 pin, so there's no Tanyao.
Right, exactly. And people are not going to be really. People are not going to drop that East very readily. Now, the South is still alive. There's no South have been dropped.
And Green Dragon.
So
Green Dragon is also there. It's in Blake's hand.
Dustin, of course, has a Chinitsu on the right. And this is going to be a Chi. Yep. Ishan 10 for Chinitsu for Dustin.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if we could see a Dora Tanki wait from Dustin there.
All right, now we have the Ontsu for Jonathan.
But unfortunately, 4 and 7 are no Yaku. And so it's a pretty difficult Agari Atozuken, but it's the Chinitsu takes the win first.
Like immediately. Lucas was actually discarding a Manzu shape, which is kind of interesting that late in the hand. I mean, on the one hand, you doubt that 5/7 is ever going to fill in. So if you're like really thinking like I have to finish this hand, the 5/7 is never going to fill. So I get the reasoning there for deleting the Kanchan, but I'd be very curious. I'd be very curious about the 5-mon discard there from Lucas. There was no Mon overflow from Dustin yet, but when someone's opening for a Honitsu or a Chinitsu and you see honors coming out of the hand, you should kind of treat those are treated as overflow. Oh, okay. It's good to know that Lucas is also watching. Now the game might be over now, so Lucas might not be watching while playing, but everybody is now commented from this table, which is an absolute
East
joy
is
to
the
me.
Dora again. This time they're spread out. Now, Jonathan with a Haku pair is Tuyama.
I assume Yama is Shanten in Japanese.
Sorry, Yama is in the wall. So
Oh, okay.
Haku is there's 2 left in the wall.
I like looked away, so I
Yeah.
wasn't even looking at the hand when you said that, and I was like, what would we say to something after?
2 in the
Shanten is
wall.
just Japanese, isn't it? I feel really dumb.
Shanten
I
is
gotta
like
say.
Shanten is like it is a Japanese, but I think they just take a Chinese word, like a lot of terminology used in Riichi Mahjong.
This is shaping up to be a pretty decent hand for Dustin.
Ishanten as well.
Only the 7-mon gives you a good weight. It does look like Blake is going to get to Tenpai first. And this Ricci, was the Ricci necessary? We have Pinfu. The Ricci drops you from first to second. Why Ricci? Why did we do this? That is Pinfu, right? Like, I'm not...
Yes, that is a Pinfu.
I'm going to ask the wizard behind the curtain. I'm going to ask both of you. So both Carter and Nathaniel, would you have Ricci'd this?
We started with 41-2. I would not Ricci because of putting the Ricci stick would you could just sumo, but I personally wouldn't, just because the value, you don't need extra value, you just need to win anything. It's like Agari Topu, like you win, you get first place. So Ricci puts you below. So if it ends up in like exhaustive draw and Dustin's in Tenpai, then you end up in second now.
But before we leave this screen, I want to hear Nathaniel's answer.
Play does
as well.
continue, yeah.
Oh, right. Because wait, it's not South Forward.
No, well,
Okay, I'm gonna hop in and
was,
answer your
if
question.
it would go to draw, yeah.
Yeah.
The play would continue, but you would be in second.
Yeah. I also think that something at stake here is the fact that Blake and Matthew are neck and neck in the standings. However, Blake has this will be the 20th game, so the end of session 5 after this win, and Matthew still has 4 games to chase Blake down. So perhaps trying to maximize the buffer, the lead before Matthew plays to add some additional pressure, and maybe that will make Matthew overpress and deal in and fall further behind. So there's certainly some merit.
That actually is really yeah. I think that's a really good point there.
Especially
Although Matthew's not someone to overpush, I don't think. But
no, Matthew is a very solid player. So
it's worth pointing out that Dustin's chi there made him Tenpai on a Genbutsu tile. So that was a very good open there for Dustin. I'm pretty sure he had Tanya. I was so focused on Blake's hand that I'm not entirely sure at this point. But I did want to point out that Dustin opening, even though it did shift the winning draw to Blake, was a very nice weight, despite it not being a great weight, because it made him waiting on Genbutsu.
Yeah. I think the other interesting thing about Ricci there is in ARML, where the UMA is pretty low, your like total point score becomes more valuable. And so getting that extra points from the Ricci and potentially Ura or Ipatsu could be, especially in this like close situation, getting those extra few points could be the difference between first and second place.
I am somewhat curious, and maybe since Blake's in the chat, they can answer. But if it was later in the round, say middle of row 2, end of row 2, something like that, if the Ricci would have been taken when other players have a chance to be close to Tenpai, because at that point there is actually a better risk of you maybe dealing in and confirming second place, or somebody else wins a Tsumo and you confirm second place, whereas being the first person to Ricci, the Sensei Ricci, you've got better chance of being able to shut down their hands and winning first yourself. And so you're not risking as much being the first to Tenpai. But definitely well played to collect the extra points in the end. Very exciting game. This one will go down in the history books as potentially the most Dustin game ever.
Absolutely.
And I think that will be the final game for the evening. So I guess for one last time, we can visit these standings, which are mostly right. There's a few players that have some funky numbers, but certainly at the top, Blake and Matthew neck and neck. Matthew to play 4 games on Sunday, and that will be the last day of session 5. And so it's very relevant to the A1 division and most of the divisions in this league, because the final round, the pairings are not determined until the standings from the previous rounds are set. So depending on where you stand, where you place in the first 5 rounds, that will, decide who your pairing is for the final round, and that could be very relevant to promotion purposes, to the A1 champion, to the players in the relegation zone. And so all of that is to look forward to.
Yeah. And this is actually our first season with this new way of like awarding points to the top 10 players in A1. There was complaints. Complaints might not be right. As ARML got bigger and we started to see the nuances in all the leagues, a lot of people were noticing that in A1, a lot of people in A1 didn't have anything to fight for. A1's always a lot tighter. So even without this spread of points going from first to 10th, there were a lot of people who had shots at first place for the A1 champion, and a lot of people who had shots at demoting according to how things go. Nathaniel, would you mind explaining how this new point system works for this season?
Oh, I mean, the numbers we can see on the screen on the left-hand side, further than the numbers for placement, will allow you to collect points every season. 10th place gets 1 point, 9th place gets 2 points, 8th place gets 3, so on and so forth up, and it slowly gets higher and higher, with the big points going to the champion. Now, currently, as things are set, the champion of each season in A1 will go into the championship playoffs at the end of the season, in addition to the top 4 point earners. So the fact that the champion earns points is a bit redundant in that sort of sense, but perhaps in the future we'll even do away with the champion's seat and just go by pure point system. It really depends on how things go this year and how the data fills out. So very excited to see how things end up at the end of this year. And certainly if you're not the top player, you certainly want to be second or third, one of those top 3 spots after the first place, to collect as many points as you can to give yourself a shot at the playoffs for the championship at the end of the year.
Yeah, I think a really good example of someone that's going to be given more purpose going into the final session. Assume if everyone here was at 20 games, Steve's scoreline would be really awkward going into the final session, right? You'd have to have this absolutely massive final session to get first. There's almost no way you could possibly demote. And so someone in Steve's position at 5th, even though 5th is really awesome in A1, like that's a great achievement in and of itself, meant nothing in the past. So I think this new point system is going to be really, really cool to see. I'm excited to see the A1 matches in the final session coming up next week.
Should be really exciting. Of course, as we enter the final session, that means we're getting close to the cutoff point for registering for the next season. And so just as one final reminder to those of you who are tuning in and interested in participating in the American Ricci Mahjong League, you can join the league by visiting our website, americanricci.org. This is open to U.S. citizens or residents. If you've been a resident of the U.S. for, 6 months, I believe, then you can join as well. And just visit the website, americanricci.org. The sign up is right on the front page. If you're comfortable scheduling 4 Hanshan every 2 weeks with a group of 4 players, you've got a schedule that is flexible enough to manage that, then we certainly will welcome you. Also, if you're interested in checking out more information about the American Ricci League, you can check us out on our socials at American Ricci on both Twitter and YouTube. YouTube hosts all of our previous broadcasts, and this one will also be up there very, very soon. And so you can visit us there as well. Any final thoughts from the commentators for the end of this broadcast?
Dustin didn't come first in the last Hanshan, so I do still believe that justice exists in the world. That's my final thought.
Yeah, for me, it was a pretty fun experience to do. This was my first time commentating, so I hope people enjoyed it.
Yeah,
and especially the A1 was very interesting to commentate on. There's a lot of stuff going on.
I love watching high level gameplay, and the games that we see in the A1 division are incredible to watch. In fact, at this point in the league, A1 and A2 both are essentially the same league. There are so many players that have been in both divisions at one point that they might as well be the same league, and the league keeps getting stronger and stronger. So a lot of exciting things to look for. Thank you so much, Carter, for joining the commentary. It was awesome to have your experience, your knowledge of Japanese represented, and Tucker as well. Thanks for making the time. I know you're super busy, but it's always fantastic to have you on the stream.
Yeah, it's always a blast. I like commentating ARML. I think is the main reason I've stuck with Mahjong. So this is a lot of fun, and I hope that people enjoy watching it, and that it inspires other people to try out commentary, put themselves out there, get deeper into Mahjong itself, see how much fun you can have doing it, forget all of the miasma of not having flow, and hopefully this is a positive place for people to come to.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So for everyone involved with this stream, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next broadcast of the American Richie Mahjong League. And I do believe we will have a special broadcast tomorrow night, an unusual Thursday broadcast time. So tune in tomorrow night for some bonus commentary. I believe Isabella and ID will be doing the commentary that evening. So definitely check it out tomorrow. Thanks again. See you next time.